fine.
Stallmaster here. Yeah.
Yep. Stallmaster want to put it off as long as possible to be as good as possible. All right. Where are my levels at? Okay, cool.
All right, welcome everybody to another exciting installment of the Terrorisk podcast.
I'm here with Chris Kim. How are you doing tonight, Chris?
I'm good. I'm actually here with Carmen.
That's true, you are.
And no, it's all good.
That's true. You're right. Anyway,
So let's see. What can we talk about today? Well, I actually know what we're going to talk about today. I just want to get this lighting
situation. That's what we're primarily talking about. It's going to be an
So
hour of
spaz.
you fiddling with your Chinese brand.
Is it Chinese? I don't know.
I don't know, maybe. I'm guessing it is. I don't know. If it is.
Like it's some Amazon Chinese.
Yeah, I
brand.
mean, everything's made in China.
Yeah, we got this strobe light action going on, colored lights.
Yeah.
And yeah, we got a few things to cover. On the way here, Carmen actually told me he tried MDMA for the first time. I'd like to talk about
exciting.
that. Yeah.
We can truly emulate Joe Rogan experience here by talking about a drug trip.
Oh, I mean,
No, I'm sorry. I'm being bitchy tonight.
no,
Assassin.
I was gonna say Joe Rogan isn't fucking cool enough to do Molly. He doesn't do Molly.
Yeah, it's just
too old
psychedelics
for
and
that
weed.
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so your first Molly trip, it happened in Brooklyn. What was it, like a week ago?
It was a week ago on Saturday. Not even a full week, in fact.
Yeah. So how much of it is fresh in your memory?
Still fairly fresh, I think. Even if I barely slept that night, immediately had to work. But let's see. It was my friend, a different Chris's birthday. Him and his 30-something yuppie friends, all great people. Pretty standard array here, going from his apartment to a bar, taking Molly at the bar, and then going to Nowadays in, I think, Bushwick,
Yeah.
which is a
Hipster club.
Yeah, exactly. Has both the predicted dance floor with EDM, bar, and a very nice outdoor area that's kind of like a wooded, fenced-in playground.
It's like if you looked at this venue's Instagram account, they would pretend there's a lot more transsexual people going there than actually are.
Yeah, still a higher percentage than much of the country, but yes.
Yeah. No, I mean
But even your average a Republican poll trying to run an anti-trans stance would still be disappointed or surprised by how few trans I saw.
Well, I think one of the things is when you first do Molly, you don't really know what to expect, so you get overwhelmed with the pleasurable sensation, which is a good kind of overwhelming, right? So when you're overwhelmed with pleasurable sensations, and this is how it gets like trippy or like psychedelic, I should say. It gets psychedelic because normally when you're not like tripping on Molly, you have all these like desires. They could, some of them could be conscious, but most of them are unconscious. Like it takes a little while for those subconscious desires to stew before you get that conscious thought like, oh, I want to go smoke a cigarette, or oh, I want to jerk off, or oh, I want to get a girlfriend or whatever.
Yeah.
I want to get laid. So when let's say you're at a club and you're not on Molly, you're just going to get tipsier and you're going to get more antsy and you're going to get horny and you're going to get bored and you're going to maybe, do I want to dance? Oh, if I dance, will girls see me? And if girls see me, will I be able to talk to them? And blah, blah, blah. When you're on Molly, all that shit, it doesn't matter because you feel so good, like physiologically that I
felt very in the moment, very within my body.
Because like usually your sober conscious conversations are like, oh yeah, I could use a cigarette right now so I don't have to fucking stand here looking all awkward and blah, blah, blah. When you're on Molly in that exact same situation, you're like, I feel fucking great. I'm fine. I could literally die right now and I'd be okay with it. Then it's like, then you start looking around at the people around you and that's when your empathy gets turned on and say, I wonder how this person's feeling. How are they doing? How are my friends doing? And then, like when you're on Molly, you're always asking your buds like, are you doing all right? I'm good. I feel great. How do you feel, man? Are you sure you feel good? I feel awesome, bro.
Yeah, it's primarily an empathogen.
Yeah.
And then, mild stimulant, which helps with it a lot. And I guess a variety of other things. The thing that struck me most about it, first time taking it, was the immediate awareness of it kicking in. Suddenly, everything felt like I was living life in HD. The world felt a lot crisper, visually especially. Obviously, everything has a bright glow to it. There's a little bit of blurriness. But everything just felt like super sharp.
So is this something you want to do again in the future?
I would love to.
Yeah. So it's interesting you say that. So when you say everything looks super sharp, it's not just a drug. That's literally how the world looks when you're good internally. Like when when you get over addictions, when you really like yourself, when you do your shadow work, when you're actually self-aligned, that's what it feels. That's what the world looks like all the fucking more vibrant, because you're not stuck in your own head. Your senses, your attention energy is focused outward. That's what psychedelics really does to you. They say it makes you more sensitive. Well, I say it really just makes you more receptive. You know. So like, yeah, that's what happens. Like when you're physically satisfied, content with like good feelings, you're not going to give a shit. You're going to be like, well, I don't really need anything. What do the people around me need? You know? So, but you had the first time, but the second time is different, or the third, or the
consecutive.
Now, what happens is, you did it once, so you got that feeling of like, oh wow, so this is what it's like to not have like worries, like this is what it's like to not want shit, like to be content. Then you do it again, and then that same level of like enlightened contentness it's not there anymore, but you still get the pleasure, you still get the physiological feeling, but your agenda starts creeping in. It's like, well, I kind of want to try getting laid while like this, or I want to try talking to some girls like this.
Yeah, I could see that.
Or
it's interesting because I know about it for that reasons. And I was looking at, there was a very attractive women there, and I just didn't care. I was like, yes, they're attractive. I was too busy taking in the novel sensory experience.
Yeah.
Feeling, smelling, sensing everything around me.
Yeah.
I was actually far more intrigued with the environment I was in and examining it than I was with trying to talk to a woman, which I felt no anxiety, so that was not an issue. It was merely like, this is more relevant to me.
Yeah.
And not that I spent a huge amount of time on this, I was actually more interested in sending messages to my friends about all the different details of the venue I was in.
Yeah. So yeah, that's like that beginner's luck kind of thing where it's, you get to just really enjoy it. But again, like if you do it again, and usually if you do it again, you're a little more in on the game, you're going to want to do it with other people that you maybe know have done it, or that's interested in doing it that hasn't done it, so you can kind of babysit them through it, all that stuff. And
there was a woman within the group who was very sweet, was babysitting me or trying to, and I kept saying, no, I'm fine, I appreciate it, no, I'm fine. Very kind of her, but I was like, nah, it's okay, I'm not free, I'm not like
yeah,
like, do your own thing. I don't mind. You don't have to check in on me.
Yeah, it's like riding a bike. Yeah. So, you get through that, and I got to tell you though, the first time it's a beautiful thing. The second time's interesting. Third time it gets really old really quickly.
I could see that.
Some things don't get old. Like I think some things it's really impossible to abuse, like Molly. For example, shrooms.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, if you're like one of those pussies just fucking microdosing every day, like, yeah, I guess, but that's not really the same thing. That's not breaking through. If anything, it's kind of like wasting it and just like making you just put one foot through the gate and not going all the way, which may not even be healthy. However, it's not like, I could imagine like wanting to do Molly like every weekend. I can't imagine wanting to do shrooms every weekend.
Yeah. I haven't done shrooms. I'd like to. I have done LSD and DMT.
Okay.
Not smoked. I've only had DMT in an edible form.
How was that?
I was very tired when I took it, which can really affect me, which was probably a bad idea because I immediately felt the negative physiological effects very strongly. To the point where I was like, I'm going to induce vomiting because I feel awful.
Oh, no, you should have went with it.
I was about to, and then I was like, no, I'm not. I did end up vomiting separately a little bit, but not too much. Pulsating the psychedelic experiences of things, breathing or pulsating. I went outside into my dark backyard for a bit because it was also very hot that day. And I don't have AC really available. So I just was sitting outside, calming down in a low sensory environment. And then I mellowed out and, I was talkative, wanted to talk to everyone within my house, and it was pleasant.
Yeah, you're lucky you did Molly and you weren't around for like the triple stack e-pill days. That shit would, because it feels really good, but the come downs are a lot more brutal than like you have on MDMA. Yeah.
What was that like?
Did you go through a come down on MDMA?
No. Next day I felt, if I had anything of a come down, it was disguised by the fact that I slept 4 hours, then worked 11 hours.
Oh.
So I was also just caffeined up a lot and just getting through my day. But it wasn't too bad.
I mean, did you feel a point when it was like you were rolling and then you feel it fading away?
Towards the end, but let's see, I took it at maybe 11 or something. And then, by 5 hour mark, I'm like, I just want to go home.
Right.
And I'm sure the club was closing anyway.
How much did you do?
It was a capsule. I don't know how much was in it.
It's probably like a 0.2.
Yeah.
Well, yep. Molly, it's fun.
Yeah, it was fun. It was interesting. I don't have anything. Do I have anything? No, nothing particularly well, a bunch of old grudges or hang-ups I felt dissolved both in the moment and even afterwards, less relevant.
Like
or
what?
Less grinding. Just about old rivalries I have from back in Boston, old hang-ups. That's mostly faded. Largely just because I just don't care right now, and I don't care in the future because I'm living life now in this moment as opposed to whatever happened in the past. I know I'm being very vague, but it's not that interesting, just like being burned by a bunch of friends. But which is interesting to... Well, I mean, I think a large part was just the sudden empathy for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And also, let's see.
Remember when I first started saying like, well, I come to the realization that everyone's just the same soul living out different lifetimes in different bodies.
Yeah.
So that feeling that you got, that's like me all the time since like that's how I feel all the time now. So it is significant. It's a very significant way to view like it's like a night and day shit. At first it was just everyone else was just a source of alienation. But then like after that tipping point, you're like, we're all just the same fucking thing. Because everything that makes us different is ephemeral. Everything that makes us different is not meant to last. The only thing that's meant to last is the only thing we all share in common.
Yeah. Let me see what else. Not that I'm an overly socially anxious person. I used to be more so. But as we said before, when you pick me up in your car, usually I have to work through it or overcome it. Kind of like a constant learned to work through any anxieties I have or awkwardness. As you said, I'm always white knuckling the steering wheel.
Yeah. But
this is just totally just naturally
But
flowing.
now that you were able to distance yourself from it so you could actually observe it objectively, because it's no longer who you are, it's something who you used to be. What would you be afraid of? Because usually like social anxiety hangs on a fear. It's like, I'm anxious because if I say this, well, what if they all think I'm stupid and everyone talks shit about me? Or what if I say the wrong thing and everyone at my job hates me and I lose my job? Like, what are some of the fears you had? Like your social anxiety was based on the fear that...
Frankly, a decent chunk of it was just not knowing what to say or how to keep a conversation moving naturally.
So you didn't.
But I already overcame a lot of that.
Yeah.
And this in particular was just. Now I don't even have to engage in my usual. I talk to people fairly well. Part of it was that I just trained myself to get a conversation started and going. And sometimes it doesn't take, or it's kind of like it's not going anywhere.
Did the podcasting help?
This is a change I did long before we met. This is like something I mostly overcame, but it still requires conscious thought, not all the time, but sometimes. It's like I know I'm not answering the question of what is the fear. There is an inability or a difficulty in communicating with others that I mostly got over.
Okay.
And this, in that particular moment, and I don't know if it's lasting after it, because it rarely comes up. It used to be like I used to have constant fear or difficulties with social interactions. Now I only rarely do.
Yeah.
And in that moment, it felt like there was absolutely even no concern of that.
Okay. I guess what really helps me never have social anxiety.
Yeah.
I mean, I know this is going to sound very, what's the word? Presumptuous of me to say.
Yeah.
But it works. So I'm not even telling you to do this. I'm just telling you what I do.
Yeah.
I usually reverse engineer to what I know everyone's ultimate goal is. Because and you're not going to know what everyone's ultimate goal is until you see it within yourself first. But once you see it within yourself first, it becomes very clear in everyone else. And let me explain. everyone wants to essentially self-actualize. Now, they may not know they want this. They may not have the vocabulary to be able to like embody it into a thought or words, like, or anything, like to be able to like actually observe it within themselves. But everyone essentially wants to self-actualize. They want to be the most actualized potential version of them. You know, like, so if you know this about people, or you know what, I'll be generous. If you assume this about every single person you meet, then you're going to come across people. And here's the thing. People who are actually self-actualized are very, 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 very rare. And even people who are, it's a process. You know, even if you are self-actualized, it's not like a line you cross. It's either, oh, you're way further ahead along in your road to self-actualization than, you know, most other people. So it's by like, you know, within that metric, it is like a spectrum. And people who are really far in the, like the further out you go on that self-actualized spectrum, the more rare they are, right? So let's say you are that further ahead along, you know, along that journey of self-actualization. At least enough to realize this is what everybody's looking for, really. It's not just money. It's not just pussy. It's not just influence. What they actually want to do with that, they may not know it. They may not see it because they're too focused on the first step. But really, everyone just wants to self-actualize. They want to manifest their actual potential. So, you know, if you keep that assumption in your mind, every person you come across, all they are is just like, what's getting in the way of that? You know, it's like, oh, this person's like overweight. I bet you $1 million that that's getting in the way of their self-actualization. Or it's like, oh, this person's really depressed. I bet you $1 million that's getting in the way of their self-actualization. Or this person cannot stop bitching about this fucking coworker or whatever. I bet their relationships or their, you know, misrelationships are actually fucking, you know, getting in the way of their self-actualization. And people you don't even have to dig that deep into people for this to become apparent. You just have to realize this. And most people don't assume this about others because they're afraid to assume this about themselves. They're the type of people, it's like, no, I just want money. I don't care about self-actualization. So you're never going to see that in other people. You're only going to see, it's like, okay, what the fuck does this person want? Money? Pussy? To you, it's just going to be one of those things. But you're not going to see the deeper end of that, which is they only want money so that they could self-actualize. They only want a trophy wife because they feel that's going to help them self-actualize. Or they only want this. And then I'm not going to say from there, like, you necessarily have to help them. But what I will say, it becomes a lot easier to figure out something to talk about. For example, let's go with the overweight thing, right?
Yeah.
I come across a person who's overweight. I already assume like, oh, that's probably getting in the way of their self-actualization. So they probably have some emotional hang-ups, but they also probably have, you know, a deep relationship with food. So I'll bring up some food stuff. You know, it's like, oh, blah, blah, blah. I like to, you know, I like to really indulge in like Italian food, Southern Italian, you know, these are my favorite places in Brooklyn, blah, blah, blah. And suddenly that conversation is, I don't mean, this might sound like basic and generic profiling, but it's really not. Because, you know, like some people could look at a person who's overweight and start talking about exercise routines. Like that's not a, you know, that's not a
basic part is worth mentioning because things that are basics for a reason.
Yeah.
It's the basal state, the base of the superstructure.
Yes. The core goal.
Yeah.
The common thread, the common denominator in everybody.
And focusing on that first as opposed to something that would be
surface level
or actualizing it or making a change.
No, you just start at the conclusion and then work back, because that's how people are. This is the benefit of, like, I know a lot of people's egos are gonna like not like this at all. But when I say, it's like, if you view everyone as the same soul living different lives in different bodies, it becomes way easier to deal with them. You never really take anything they say or do personally, you know, because you're like, they either get it or they don't. And if they don't get it, then they're more likely to act like fucking stupid, you know?
Yeah.
And that's really the basis of empathy. I think like that's really what it means to be empathic, you know, to know that. It's not just saying, oh, I feel what you feel. Oh, I'm angry when you're angry. I'm hurt when you know. It's a deep understanding of that you have to find within yourself. Then you could properly apply it to other people. And, you know, you could tell you're doing it right is if you lose judgment. You know, because again, if you're just the same being having different human experiences in different bodies, then what the fuck is the point of judging them? You know, if anything, you should try to help them, you know, and then that's when it gets more interesting. You know, how do I help this person? Well, I can't just tell them what to do. That's not how people work. You have to like make them think they came up with the idea all by themselves. Well, what's the best way to do that? Especially to like a large number of people? Well, embody your ideals, become that aligned person, become that self-actualized person, so that other people can, and people can tell when you're like that. Like it's not something you could even hide if you wanted to. You just have this like glow, this aura, you know, like you're just a happy person, you know. It's like you try to like fuck with them, you try to argue with them, and then they don't give you any, you know, they'll come at you with like love, but never at their own detriment, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, like that being said, once you become that, then other people will want a piece of that naturally. It's like you don't have to evangelize anyone. Just, you know, help ladies across the street, you know, like pick up trash from the streets. People will come and ask.
That connectedness with others, once again, empathy and coming to, we're talking about the base before, seeing the base structure between you and other people,
Yes.
the base that you both share and is in fact part of one and the same. You are one and the same.
Yes. So I think like this kind of knowledge, this kind of insight can really melt away a lot of people's social anxiety. You know, it's like and this is going to sound really fucked up, but when I hear like autistic people, like, you know, they share their grievances about society, modern society, about neurotypicals, they sound like soulless people. Like they sound like people who just don't understand empathy. Like they just can never, it's like beyond
that's part of the description. Yeah.
It's crazy. I'm like, if you take a guy who just refuses to ever believe in a soul, ever, in a god, or ever refuse to, they're gonna start acting real autistic really quickly.
Yes, that's true.
Like Asperger status. So it almost leads me to conclude, like, if there is something making people autistic, it's literally making them soulless. It's making them like devoid of a soul. It's making them unsavable. It's making them into people that can't be saved, literally, that can never be enlightened. They can never find self-actualization because they'll always be nothing but their mind and body. If you're nothing but your mind and body, that's gonna fuck you up. I don't give a fuck, you know, if the atheists listening get offended. No, dude, you're fucked up, dude, for a reason. And you know deep down, like, what I'm saying is true. You could, you know, make some long drawn out comment. It's like, oh, I believe in virtue and the logic behind virtue. It's like, shut up, man. Like every philosopher tries to hide God in their philosophy, you know, even when it comes to like moral relativity.
Yeah, they still put a
tulpa.
Yeah, their metaphysics betray that they're not random matter and random motion. There's an ontology, a study of being that is going on with them, and the philosophy reflects that.
And yet that did not stop the mass ontological shock that's happening across the whole world right now as we speak. Sorry, guys. There is a God. You know, what's amazing to me though is I don't think there's anything about me individually that makes me that says I should be able to handle that. It's like, why was I so willing to accept it? And maybe it was just a mix of experiences, like just not isolated events in my life, but just a combination of specific events that just primes you to be a certain way. Maybe it could be a little bit of the drugs, a little bit of the abuse, a little bit of the fucking, you know, the shadow behavior, a little bit of the antisocial behavior, a little bit of the fucking, you know, like the reconciliations and all that shit. But yeah, it's really amazing how some people just refuse to identify with that. They just, it's like they're terrified. And when I look at those people, they fascinate me to no end. You know, because I heard someone say like, anyone who refuses to believe in a personal God just never really had a loving relationship with their parents. They're afraid to believe in a personal God because they're angry at mom or dad. I mean, if you can't reconcile with mom or dad, how are you supposed to reconcile with an almighty God? You can't.
Yeah. Here's the use of God as father.
Exactly. It's already
parental and
that's what they are. They are the ultimate parent. They are the parent of the parents of anything, you know, like. So yeah, it's hard for people with maladjusted relationships with their parents. Just
they're going to be spiritual
malady.
Yeah.
Which is a huge source of addiction for a lot of people. Because we said there's like
three. Right, that's the term they use in like AA and other STEPIS programs.
Yeah, the three different factors of the three different dimensions of alcoholism, for example, would be the physical addiction, the mental addiction, and the spiritual malady. And spiritual malady, of course, being developed when you don't trust the very people who made you. You know, like that's like a major source of spiritual malady.
And you know, I'm very lucky to have loving, likable parents. A lot of people have very difficult parents, which make it harder to have that
leads to a spiritual malady.
Yeah.
How can they ever forgive God if they can never forgive their own parents?
Yeah.
It's like, how dare you, God? How dare you make me be born from these fucking assholes here?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anger at God, anger at the universe, at the circumstances of their birth, whatever maladies they have.
And it gets worse when society offers up like not solutions, but further they just throw gasoline onto the fire by saying, hey, not only were your parents shitty, but guess what, you're autistic. That means you all the neurotypical people who aren't autistic like you, they're making life harder for you because they're intolerant of you, because they just think, you know, they think you shouldn't exist. And it's like, it's this fucked up like paradigm of like malady upon malady. It's crazy. It's literally just like square rooting your fucked upness, you know.
The nature of radical change that every society has experienced, and depending on where you are, most recent, I don't know, 100 years ago, more distantly for Europeans in particular, the first discoverers of modernity, maybe the last 500 years have had such rapid shifts and changes for so many people that it caused all of these maladies to accumulate.
Yes. But also, this
changes of environment, changes in society allow you to handle it, etc. Go on, please.
This might sound fucked up, but maybe the malady is a natural course of selection in nature. You know, like maybe it really is just like you said, massive shifts happening. We obviously can't stop the changes as they're happening. No one can.
Yeah. We're going to have a mass die off of the population.
Well, not even like extermination, but like literally like a die off. Like,
yeah, I don't mean extermination. I mean, the population is going to contract because so few people are having kids.
Yeah. Which, no, it's not. It's not just like
not just that. Either,
no, I'm saying it's not just the fact that fewer people are going to be having kids, but it's also the type of people that are not going to be having kids. That's what matters to me. It's like, well, are you going to be that type or this type? What's the the distinguishing factor? And if you look at everyone who's having kids, they're all God-fearing people.
Yeah.
I'm not even necessarily religious, like in an organized religion, but generally speaking, none of them are really
It used to be children were just something that happened for the vast majority of people.
No, but this
unless you were in a monastery.
But I think this is good. I think the only people to have kids should be religious. I mean, not like organized religious, but I think like at least spiritual, you know, like spiritually aware or conscious, like.
Yeah.
I don't think atheists should have kids, to be honest.
Well, most of them don't. Just naturally, they tend not to have kids.
Well, that's good. I mean, I can't imagine what a single good reason for an atheist to have kids. Ever. I can't.
But reason would be some very cold Darwinian logic.
Exactly. It wouldn't be
which ends up being probably bad.
I can't think of a good reason for an atheist that, like, if I were an atheist, I wouldn't be able to think of an actually good reason to have a kid. Like, honestly,
if you're an atheist and you're motivated to have kids purely on a cold, rational logic,
like lizard brain, like I want to lay my fucking eggs, like
not even naturally occurring, just a thought you're actually have. You'd be better if you were just doing it lizard brain. The fact that if you're consciously saying I want to have kids because I am an animal, and that's what animals do.
It's like that's
even
up.
more it's more horrifying than.
However,
just being a person reacting to stimuli.
If you believe in God and you believe in the soul and you believe humans have souls, then you're going to want to keep this going so that other souls can have a chance to incarnate in this earth so that they could experience love and God's grace within, you know, the beautiful natural world. That's what we're supposed to do. This is why I'm saying if you're an atheist, fucking don't have kids. Like, because you're not going to have kids for the right reasons. You're going to have kids for some fucked up reason or just plain up straight irresponsibility. Yeah. You know, and this is why so many like agnostic, intellectual types, you know, like fucking those like hardline materialists, like they're all about their morality. So they're by nature they have to, and they're intellectualized morality. So by nature they have to be antinatalist. They have to say like, oh, I don't want kids. Why would you want kids? You know, like, but they're nerds. Like, fuck those guys. Like they, you know, like fuck their opinion. You know, like just die already. Like, if that's the case, you know, like if you can't get with the program, then you don't have a soul. And if you don't have a soul, then you're just taking up space. You're literally the NPC. Yeah. They're like if you watch the Matrix movie and you see the kinds of people that the agents could just like morph into, like that's literally like godless people, soulless people who don't. It's so easy to not have a soul, you just don't believe in it. But it's so easy to have a soul, you just fucking believe in it. Isn't that amazing? It's like a switch you just turn on.
Yeah, it is amazing. I don't know, you have more atheists of a modern sense, well, obviously of a modern sense, than ever before. Undoubtedly, there are people who were fairly atheistic in the past, but I think they probably had a far better understanding of society.
I think a lot of people are getting less and less atheist.
Yeah, I could see that too. As you said, just from a die off. Except for the Chinese, who I think are naturally atheists and naturally soulless people.
No, I think the Chinese.
But they're not. No.
I think the Chinese are extremely spiritual people, very highly spiritual people. But their idea of spirituality is weird to Westerners because Westerners like to lean heavily on idolatry.
Yeah.
In fact, they really do go overboard with it. Like to the point, like where God. I use the word God just to like relate to white people, honestly. It's really not like, I don't look at it as the all heavenly father, like really it's not. It's something bigger than that. It's something bigger than anything you could really truly personify, and it's within us too. And it's something, if you could put your finger on it, if you could identify it, even the word nothing, then it probably isn't right,
Yeah.
So that being said, like what they do focus on is energy and chi. And how people think of, when you say energy to someone, they'll think electricity, or they'll think like, the result of their homes being powered or something. But really, energy is your very attention is a form of energy. Like whatever you focus on will grow. Whatever you focus on will further manifest. Whatever you focus on becomes more real. What you place your attention on, whether it's you're looking at it or thinking about it, or thinking about it and looking at it, thinking about it and looking at it and touching it, like that's a form of energy. Like you're literally pumping energy into that thing. So when you like have an idea and it's like a self-contained idea, you put focus on that idea, it's going to manifest. Like if you have a lot of focus on an old grudge with like an old friend, and that last exchange just really sticks and it just keeps grinding your gears and you just can't fucking get over it. Well, you think you're just keeping it inside, and you think like no one else is ever going to be affected. Oh, this is just my memory that I'm stewing in, my feelings that I'm stewing in. Well, guess what? That does manifest into your actions, into your thoughts, into your feelings, which does manifest into your fucking everything starts off as that. Like everything in your life, like look around your own fucking home, your car or whatever, like that all started with a thought. Like the car was built from a thought. You bought that car into your life with a thought, like it all started with a thought first. That's what chi is. Like when I move my arm, you can't just look at the result of the arm moving. Like you got to realize before I even decided to move it, I was expending chi. I was putting chi towards that. And if you're really good, and if you really understand this dynamic intuitively, then you could see this. You could actually visually see it like an overlay across your vision,
Intriguing. And chi, it's also breathing, right? It's breath energy.
Well, breath is the most purest form of chi, and it's not just the air that moves in, it's the act of breathing. Because the thing about breathing is like it's so potent and so naturally flowing within your chi is because like it's the thing that you're constantly doing without really thinking about it. Therefore, it's probably the most enlightening act that you actually do,
Interesting. The lack of conscious action within breathing.
Yep, and yet you just constantly doing it.
Is there a desire or an expectation of expanding that kind of state, that kind of relation to breathing to everything you do?
Well, that's the thing. Like, I look, I'm not going to say, no one taught me this, so I can't even say I have it figured out.
Yeah.
But like the things that I would do for like some of my activities, I would later look up like stuff on the internet, like about spirituality and meditation, and then I would read it. I'd be like, oh shit, that's exactly what I fucking do. So one example would be like when I used to get nervous when I would do test cutting, like in martial arts practice. So it's called tameshigiri, like test cutting. It's when you roll up straw mats, stand them up in front of you, and you have to take out your katana, and you got to like do perfect cuts and shit, right? So I used to get, and when you do that, it's common practice for like everyone to be dead silent and just fucking staring at you and scrutinizing your technique, and because that's just how it's done. And when you get nervous, it's really easy to mess up. You start sweating, you start shaking, your technique gets fucked up really easily. It's all mental. It really is. So you do that, and you have to figure out a way to get over that nervousness. And some people, I've watched people train for years and never really fully got over it. Like they just always they always like think too much, and they always fuck up their cuts, and they've been practicing for years. I got over that, and the way I did it was I would stand, I would bow before the mat, I would like draw my sword, or before I even draw my sword, what I would do is I would slightly unfocus my vision. And it's almost like, I can't describe it, but I would like concentrate pressure down the center line of my face, like going like in between my eyes, like just down the center column of my face, like a straight line. And it's not that I would like really like push blood there, like I would be like, you know, shaking like Sam Hyde face or anything like that. But I'm just saying, like it's like that's where I just place my focus. And once I place my focus, I could literally feel that focus energy going down the center of my face. And then every time I did that, I just wouldn't get nervous. Now, my initial thought was, I'm just gonna unfocus my vision just a little bit. And then in the process of unfocusing my vision, I felt that centered pressure in, you know, down the center of my face. And then every time I did that, I got perfect cuts. Perfect fucking cuts. So like, I didn't know what that was. I didn't realize what I was doing, you know, because like when I was like, when my vision is clear and like what I consider lucid, I'm very in my head. But when my vision like kind of unfocuses and like I kind of silence my head, and it's almost like my focus goes from my head to dispersed all over my body simultaneously. That to me feels like flow state. And then I confirmed this when like I would try other things like singing, playing guitar, trying to do bike tricks. Like I would have to like do the same exact thing. And that's when I learned I was tapping into Zen. I was tapping into flow state. So I'm not saying like I'm an expert on this shit, but that's when I cross-reference the description of flow state and what I do during those things, I think I'm getting better at it. Because like you've seen what I do on bikes.
I have, yes.
You've seen what I do on like, you know, and I learned all this shit in very short amounts of time once I cultivated that sensation of just slightly unfocusing your vision, focusing the pressure down like the center column of your face. And yeah, it always works. I fight better that way. I ride better. I do everything better, you know?
Yes.
I'm going to try fucking like that, you know? Like,
a natural feeling, a good state to do it. I feel that most strongly when working, and it's a busy night.
yes.
I mean, very common, but
It's
that work is enjoyable for me because the flow state is very pleasant during it for me.
My theory is if you do something enough times where you could do it perfectly without thinking about it, it's really easy to tap into flow state.
Yeah, I agree.
The whole trigger to flow state is when your body does something that you're not consciously thinking about, but it does it well and it does it practiced. Now, you could do this for years without realizing that you're tapping into flow state until you think about it and you're like, wait a minute, why is it that my thoughts are wandering all over to my wife, to my kids' school, and yet I'm just here chopping sushi perfectly. I'm not fucking up. Why? How? And then you have to realize, oh, it's because that's two different brains working. There's the brain in your head, and then there's the brain in your gut. You know, that's your intuition. That's your fucking gut. That's your heart. You know, like that to me is honestly more smart. It knows more things than your brain does. And that's closer to the real you than your brain. Your mind is just a amalgamation of all your experiences, your biases, your judgments, your convictions, your memories. It's not really the eternal. The eternal stuff that was you even before you were born and that will be you after your body dies. That is your flow state source. That is your intuition. That is the magic thing that like when you look at like Jimi Hendrix get up and then it's like, how does he play like that? It's because that's not Jimmy. That's not Jimmy. That's not Jimmy there anymore. He becomes a channel, an open channel. When you saw Hitler doing his thing, that wasn't really Hitler. Like he stepped aside to let the collective will of a pissed off nation just like overtake him like a possession, you know? It's flow state. It's a type of flow state.
It was.
It's not a good type of flow state, but it is like it's
really, any jokes about Hitler rapping are accurate because in effect he was spitting bars.
He's like, oh, praise Mother Germany.
Yeah.
It's like she came down from the heavens and she wiped the scourge from this planet.
Yeah.
Yeah. If he started talking like a pastor,
that would be fitting too because there's a similar condition or state.
With a lot of conviction and a lot of energy and a lot of passion. Because that's when and you know what? Those pastors, they don't call it the same thing, but they understand it's them stepping aside and quote unquote, letting the Lord take over.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I see some skateboarders, like pro skateboarders.
Yes.
They all do great, amazing shit. But then some of them do it after bail, after bail, after bail, after bail, after bail. They take huge slams. Whereas you have other pros, like they fuck up once. Maybe they'll do a tumble, but then second time they stick it, land it.
Yeah.
And it's like, they get it, you know? Whereas the other one, they don't know how to do it, but they just know how to like brute force their way in after enough attempts, you know? Because again, it's like if you repeatedly do something without thinking about it, eventually like you're gonna do it, you're gonna get it, you're gonna tap in. But if you know how to do it at will, now that's potent, which I think I figured out how to do. For me, I don't know, everyone else might have a completely different process to tap into some kind of state like that, but for me that's what it is. I have to like unfocus my vision, relax all the muscles in my face. And like I do this when I fight, and people tell me it's like, you know, when you fight, you're like a completely different person. Like not like as in like, you know, you rage out. It's just like something just drains out of you, and you're like
you're in an altered state. So in some ways it's similar but distinct from raging out.
Exactly. It's more like
it's a different kind of flow state, but yes.
I mean, but it's still the same thing. You know, like I look at it like this, like if I'm playing guitar and I'm really into it and I'm playing a whole song with like someone on the mic or someone on the drums and someone on the bass, I'm tapping into the same thing. Like everything just, I relax every muscle in my face, and then I'm just like unfocusing my vision and just letting my body take over.
Yes.
Now when I fight someone, imagine like, you know, like doing a performance like that. It's kind of like I'm trying to make my beautified reality. My beautified reality, my beautiful structure, my statue from a slab of marble is a nice show where everyone has a good time, right?
Yes.
That's my slab of marble. So when I'm fighting someone, it's like they become my slab of marble, and my beautified reality is where I fuck you up, you know, like, so it's the same thing, you know. I'm like, like if you think about war, like that's really what they're doing. They're just chipping away excess marble, you know, until they get their beautified reality.
Yes.
So it's like, yeah, I think of it the same way. It's that flow state. Such a fun topic to talk about.
It is. Yeah. I'm just thinking about other experiences like that in my life.
To be honest, I think the only reason why this podcast got better since it started was because I started applying flow state into
conversations, production, the entirety of the show.
It's really easy for me to like avoid any lulls or silences when I like look. I even make a mudra. I'll make the power mudra like when I like, you know, and then suddenly I just stop thinking, and a little voice in my gut just like comes up and says, "Oh yeah, talk about the election." You know, it's like, and I was like, "Oh yeah," you know, it's like it's really easy for me to just tap in, and I think like a lot of it is physiological, meaning I exercise a lot.
Yes,
a lot of people think of spirituality. They really neglect the physical development. They really, really do. They think, oh, I just have to like think my way and meditate and relax. It's like, no, you have to stress your body out. You have to fucking, you know.
This is one of the significances of fasting and spiritual experience.
Yep. And if there's one thing I learned about my body is that it could take a lot of abuse, not just like getting beat up, but which it can, but like, you know, like my body is able to handle like retention, like semen retention, alcohol retention, tobacco retention. Like I'm able to actually quit things, you know, like, so once I like food example, I'm able to sustain on one meal a day with like fucked up amounts of energy still, you know?
Yeah.
And I really think that's because like like every time you eat excess shit, that's just more karmic energy. Every time you know, drink a lot, that's more karmic energy. The only way to burn that is through physical activity. Otherwise, it's just going to store. Maybe not as fat, but it's going to store as some like kind of like fucked up buildup where it's like, I don't know, man, I'm fatigued today. I don't really want to go out. Why? Oh, it's because you got fucked up last night and you have that karmic buildup that you got to fucking work through. The best way to burn it is to like do athletic activities, work out, martial arts. And I think that's why I'm able to handle like staying up like late nights and getting fucked up and shit and like dabbling in drugs here and there. It's because I balance it out with like a lot of, you know,
physical activity, meditation, training, exercise,
and retention.
Retention,
like food, not just semen. You know, like food retention. Yeah. So precisely. So I think that really does help, and like that's what I mean by alignment. Like when you're aligned like that, and then from there, it's just a matter of unlearning fucked up beliefs and ideas about yourself and others. You know. But if your body isn't up to snuff, then none of that other shit's gonna work. People think, oh, I could just change my mind about things. Well, guess what? Your body's gonna fucking get horny at the wrong time. You're fucking gonna get some wrong fucked up cravings at the wrong time.
Yes.
You know, and just gonna fuck your shit up. So you gotta master your body. You really have to master your body. Something as simple as learning how to ride a bike, I think, makes like a fucking huge impact on people. Like insane. It's not just like the biking, it's just learning new physical skills. Like really boosts your alignment, you know, for some reason.
Yes.
Because you naturally make a lot of the necessary sacrifice in the pursuit of gaining that skill, you know? It's like you know, it's like instead of trying to like go to this shitty party where you try to hook up with some slut that's not even guaranteed and wasting your time and money, it's like, nah, I think I'm gonna call it an early tonight because I want to get up tomorrow to go for this bike ride. You know, like shit like that. It's that simple. It happens that fast. So yeah, you got to balance out partying with physical activities. Otherwise, you're just gonna be like low energy, and you don't want to be low energy because that's the game, right? Like it's not we all thought it was the smartest who wins. It's the richest who wins. It's the youngest who wins. It's the most experienced who wins. No, it's the one with the most energy.
Yeah.
And consistently held most energy. And there's only one way to do that, and that's alignment. You got to take care of yourself.
Yes.
No, and do they teach that in school? Like, here's how you get more energy, kids. Here's how you get more energy. They tell you where energy comes from, but they don't tell you how to cultivate inner energy, more energy, right?
Yeah,
Chinese schools do. Chinese schools teach this shit.
Part of the nature of secular education in America probably feeds into this directly.
I mean, the Chinese treat this stuff as secular, though.
Yeah.
They like to them, it's not really secular. It's metaphysical, but they treat it as if it's standard knowledge that you should be educated on, which is absolutely fucking true. Like, you know, you'll talk to a Chinese immigrant about this shit and they'll be like, yeah, they teach us this stuff in elementary school.
A more viable pedagogic method to teach it in schools, these things.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's absolutely necessary. And I think America is like really starting to, well, first of all, the reason why you can't do this stuff right unless you have some sort of long-standing cultural homogeneity. Because without that, you're not, because this stuff thrives on tradition. Without tradition, this doesn't
And that's
work.
what I mean when I say a secular schooling in America. The lack of one homogenous spiritual tradition has gotten in the way of this being taught.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we could just steal shit from the Native Americans, but I don't think their shows that developed, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, because of how religiously, spiritually diverse America has always been, we've only ever had this basic education with all of its flaws.
Yeah. I mean, there's also the South American end of it and all that stuff. Yeah, so
as in drug use, local folk tradition.
Let me ask you something. Who do you think would lead to a more spiritual America? Kamala Harris as president or Trump?
I feel like Trump.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a general trend regardless.
You think so?
I think so. At
Well,
least the current place.
Okay,
current
so
space. Elaborate on how you feel. Tell me how you feel.
No, this is fun because I agree with you. It is a general trend that I feel regardless of who's president. But even within the confines of spirituality, that could also go many different ways for America. We could go the evangelized Jesus route, which I don't know. I'm not into that. We could go.
Well, that was tried in like the late 70s, 80s. That's why you had the evangelical movement, Jesus Freaks, all those things, where a Christian form or a particular kind of charismatic Protestant Christian form of trying to deal with the social chaos induced by the 60s and 70s.
Hopefully, though, Donald Trump would go less Jesus Christ and more Aleister Crowley, because that's what he does. Donald Trump is definitely, he's a
wizard.
Yeah.
And not a grand wizard.
No, he's not a Jesus guy. He's not a Christ cuck. He respects it because he understands the power.
His big influence is Norman Vincent Peale, the power of positive thinking guy.
But where do you think he gets his shit from? That's literally
Christianity,
yeah. Gnosticism. Gnostic tradition.
Yeah. Do you think? Well,
I mean,
so you think? I'm sorry.
Make America Gnostic again. Hell's
yeah.
That's dope. Someone had that YouTube handle on the comments in one of my streams. It was like, "Make America Gnostic again, MAGA."
Make America X again was such a huge mimetic victory for Trump back in 2016. It just had so much impact.
Yes, and so there's that, and if Kamala becomes president, it will be more spiritual in a sense of like, well, Aleister Crowley also had a dark thing. Like that's where like, you know, if we're talking about like magic, like as in like religious people are fucking with a type of magic. You have like Freemasonry, which is fucking with a type of magic. You have Satanists, which are fucking with a type of magic, because it's all about like manipulating collective and individual psyche, which is very powerful shit, because that pretty much determines reality as far as we know. So a lot of like, say, like trans people will be super into like Aleister Crowley type magic, you know, which is more like all about like
a lot of trans women in particular is what you're saying, of the programmer variety,
and like the Discordia type shit, you know, like
the ones that are naming themselves Lilith.
Yeah, exactly.
They have a Baphomet handbag,
and they're kind of cringy. But then you know, but adjacent to them, you have the white girls who are into witchcraft, you know, like who are into astrology and numerology and crystallology.
I've seen that kind of new age witch thing among women of color as well. Even if it's white heavy, there's a class signifier here.
It's gender.
It's a woman thing. It's like a middle class woman thing in particular.
All right, so
there are working class versions of it.
I subscribe to the granddaddy of it all, which is alchemy. You know, like from the Hermetic traditions. And also, I could say it's on par with maybe like Rosicrucianism or Gnosticism or whatever. But I really do think it all kind of like goes back to the original source of alchemy, which is allegedly from like the teachings of Thoth, who was apparently like of the descendants of one of like the ancient civilizations like Atlantis or whatever. So these were like
Kemet, by the way. Kemetism is the religious tradition of ancient Egypt.
Yeah, and we're talking about precursors. We're talking about precursors to that. You know, we're talking about the precursors to Christ and Buddha. This is where they all got their shit from. So from that being said, within like the 7 principles or the 7 Hermetic laws, which I think there's an 8th hidden law or something like that. But within the 7 Hermetic laws, one of them is that everything has gender. The divine feminine and the divine masculine. So when you have like women delve into this shit, they hyper focus. Oh, it's like, oh, divine feminine. Oh, I like the sound of that. Yeah. What's that? And they hyper focus on the divine feminine aspect of like all this, like of all the metaphysical teachings, you know. So that's how you end up getting like all these like YouTube channels where it's like welcome back all my divine feminines, I have another collective reading for you all, and we just drew the 3 of Swords. Now what this means is that person that you suspect has been talking shit about you, they absolutely have been, and they've been I'm getting my spirit guides are telling me that they're after something that you have, or someone that you have. And it's like, dude, it's fucked up. I'm like, yo, you should not be allowed to get away with this. Like, that is like really potent form of like psychic manipulation, especially if you're like a young 20-year-old girl listening to this shit. You're like, I fucking knew it. I fucking knew it. I felt it in my gut, and this bitch, she's going down. I'm gonna ruin her fucking life. You know, like. This is serious shit. Like, people gotta know, like, this is like real, like, content and media. This isn't media anymore. This is real, like, psychic, you know, magic, projection magic. So what's your take on this?
I don't have a good take on that. I spaced out. I apologize. I don't know. I can see why it's very appealing to women and the medium it's dispersed by. People are so detached from their bodies, you know. I wonder if part of the reason for like video game addiction is that it's one of the only ways a lot of men ever experience a flow state. To jump us back for a moment.
Well, but the problem is it's so easy to access flow state.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I really think it could be hard for some now, but it's only because of these modern societal structures and
technologies that alienate you from your body and from that experience.
So it's not that the video games are the only way for these guys to experience flow state.
It's the one that they're most familiar with and most comfortable with.
It's the video games are the reason why they're not outside experiencing natural flow state.
Yes.
So I would say that is not a solution. It's actually
I was saying it's detrimental.
No, I mean, I didn't mean to say you were saying that. It's just I think about that and I'm like, yeah, that's definitely the problem. Like,
and a lot of our distraction technologies in general are that: streaming pornography, Uber Eats delivery.
Oh my god, I'm just gonna take some time to I want to give a shout out. Please. To not watching porn. You know, it's not an entity or a friend that I'm shouting
you were
at.
reading it. You were saying it as if that we had a live stream and that was someone's username.
No. I was literally just giving a shout out to the practice of not fucking watching porn, of not choking your fucking chicken to some other guy fucking your ideal woman right in front of you. Like, that's not good. You know what watching porn is? All right, so back in like when the Mongolians would invade, like barbarians would invade villages, they would literally like rape the women in front of their husbands to demoralize them, you know?
Yeah.
That basically made this psychological effect on the victim, you know, villagers, so that if they ever came back, they would be less likely to fight back because they'd be afraid of like what it would be worse if they fought back, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, that being said, like when you watch porn, that's essentially what you're doing to yourself psychically. You may not think so, but the thing is, your subconscious does not give a fuck about your conscious your intention. Your subconscious doesn't give a fuck about sincerity. Your subconscious doesn't give a fuck about your values. All your subconscious gives a fuck about is what you give it. And if you're giving it that, well, guess what? That's what it's going to become. So what are your thoughts on that?
I agree with that entirely for a layman answer, but I thought this is much mentioned with cuck fetishism, perhaps being porn induced, and also like
I have a theory on that.
Go on. Yes.
So
I agree with, by the way, the historical trend. I have thought about that before myself about the.
So here's a sick part. Let's say you're one of those villagers who the barbarians came, raped your wife in front of you, and said to you, if we ever come back and you try to fight us, this is what we're going to do to your wives again. You already know you can't win, so don't bother, you know? So they leave. And, you know, like, there's this, I'm not going to say that's good or anything about that is good, but there's this, at that point, the only way to cope is to try to find a certain comfort in that and being defeated. Like, you know, into being we're already defeated. We're the defeated ones. It's like there's a certain comfort in like not having to ever fight back ever again.
Yes.
You know, because you're like, whatever. So maybe that could be the source of that addiction where it's like, well, I already jerked off to cuck porn. Might as well just fully embrace it. Like, instead of being embarrassed about like jerking off to cuck porn that, you know, a few times, might as well just say like, no, I'm fully into it. You know, as a way of coping past the shame, you know, instead of just saying like, oh, this is shameful that I did that. It's like, nah, I love this shit. I'm fucking 110, because that's a way of coping.
It is.
Like, look at Diddy's whole stable. That's what they all did. They were like, nah, I fucking love this shit. It's like, no, you don't, man. You don't love getting fucked in the butthole by P. Diddy. Like,
yeah, as part of his molestation parties. Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's how it becomes an addiction. It's not an addiction to the sex part. It's an addiction to being defeated. To being the defeated.
I agree. A lot of people have that mentality, but beyond a victim mentality.
And there's like a spectrum. It could start with like
mentality.
Like being into dominatrix. Then it devolves into like being cuckolded.
Yeah.
Devolves further, you know, like into just like allowing your wife to get gangbanged. Devolves further to you getting gangbanged. You know, might as well, right?
Yeah,
like, What's the difference at that point? Like, why don't you spare the wife? Like, you get your fucking holes reamed. And the husband will be like, at that point, he's like, yeah, you're right, honey. I'm ready. Like, you know? Damn, this is a heavy talk, but it has to be said. Honestly, there has to be more young men like us talking about the stuff that
these
really
important things affecting our society today.
It is important. It is affecting us. You want one?
Yeah.
Dude, it is fucking affecting us. I absolutely agree that these things have to be talked about because it's not okay. And you know what's fucked up? Like, I've had threads where, you know, like, I would say like, yeah, I'm against porn. I quit porn. I think no one should be watching that shit. Everyone fucking dogpiled on me. They were like,
I know you've talked about this before on the show, but yes.
But there was like other cases where I said the same thing in a different page, and I'd be like, yeah, I don't think anyone should ever watch porn. I think it's terrible. I think it's terrible for your brain. Like, full stop. And one person would say, like, what are you, a weirdo? And then everybody dogpiled that person. Like, you fucking pornoid, you fucking coomer. So what that tells me is that it's a very polarizing subject right now. It's a very divisive subject.
It is. I mean, that's a major outlet for all sexual energy now, with people having less sex.
But it's okay not to come. That's what people have to understand. This is why. Okay, so the answer is not trying to figure out a way to have more. All right, the answer is to figure out why you want so much of it in the fucking first place. And if you really took the time to, like, maybe even 15 minutes to seriously think about it, you would come to the conclusion that it's based on bullshit. You know, like the only right reason is to have a baby that you want to care for. And like, if you really do want to have a baby that you want to care for, look at yourself. Are you in any fucking state to raise a child? Probably not.
Yes.
You know, if you're a fucking paranoid loser, you know, like. So yeah, you gotta really make sure your shit's like, you know, buttoned down tight. Think about your own shit. You know, don't think about what other people are doing. Really obsess over what you're doing, man.
I'll think of advice. Especially since you can change yourself, or at least the way you react to things. You can't change the outside world.
Yeah, I always say that too. I'm like, you can't change what happens to you. You can only change how you respond.
What time are we at? We just lit a cigarette.
I think we just hit the hour mark, so we could take a break. So we could take a break and then.
No. Let's continue with this for a little while.
All right. So fucking. Porn is bad.
It's really nice. I don't mean to change the subject here, but it's very nice to smoke a cigarette inside.
Well, I quit vaping, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it was a massive campaign to quit, understandably so, but there is something pleasant about the experience of being inside, talking to you, smoking a cigarette.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's just, I listened to my gut on this one. I didn't want to vape and smoke cigarettes and like do tobacco at the same time. And I noticed that when I did engage with like just sitting alone, smoking a cigarette, no phone, no computer, no TV, just outside, like in the back, sitting down, I would have some of the best thoughts. I would
yeah, I think, most of human history, a significant amount of time of it is spent being bored or waiting. But also, we've destroyed, in many ways, we've eliminated boredom.
Yeah.
I mean, people still experience it perhaps more harshly because they're not adapted at handling it.
100%.
But the routine boredom that made up much of human life in the past is now gone.
100%, yeah. Which adds more value to actually doing nothing.
Yeah.
Because then you have some time to fucking think. Mm-hmm. But also, it's just, I don't know what it is. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a biologist by any means. I'm not a tobacologist. Is that what you call it?
Tobacconist.
Tobacconist.
Well, tobacconist is someone who sells tobacco, but go on.
But something about nicotine, I just feel it has like a mental, psychologically stimulating effect.
It does. It's a stimulant. It's an appetite suppressant. It's an anti-anxiety drug. It's an anti-psychotic drug.
And as a creative person, like that's very valuable to me, right? And on top of that, I do think that, because here's what I do. I have a system. I usually keep 3 packs, right?
Yes.
1 pack is for the car. That's, yeah. I don't bring that anywhere else. 1 pack is for podcasting, like here. Mm-hmm. And then the 3rd pack is for just straight up rationing. And that is where I break off 4 cigarettes a day. So if I'm not driving or podcasting, I'm only smoking those 4 cigarettes in the day. But if I'm driving, I'll smoke a couple, on the road. But if I'm if I'm podcasting, I'll have a couple of cigarettes, with our drinks. But I think the key was for me rationing. I just have to ration, and also I do way too much physical shit for it to. I literally do daily cardio every single fucking day. I hit the jump rope at least every single fucking day. So I think I'm pretty good on that front. And if I ration like that, where I'm literally just smoking like 4 to 6 cigarettes a day, is it really gonna, I think that's the perfect amount, actually.
Yeah.
I think it's the perfect amount for a man my age.
That's your doctor's recommended amount of nicotine.
I mean, fuck. I feel great, honestly. Like rationing the cigarettes that I've been doing, and I smoke like Native American cigarettes because I don't like menthol or anything like that.
They do have menthols, but
full disclosure, guys. A fun fact: Chris has been smoking since he was 14 years old. He started when he bought a $5 pack of Newport cigarettes from a black kid outside of Tottenville High School when he was just like carrying a North Face backpack full of cartons, and he's like, "Yo, you want to buy some cigarettes?" And Chris was like, "Yeah." How much? $5. And back then, packs were cost like $5 to $7. Like
you can't even get those prices in Virginia anymore. They're close to $5 though.
Yeah, when I was 14, that was like fucking shit. That was almost like 19 years ago. Mm. So yeah, that's when I first started.
Wow, time flies. But yes.
However, you know, I was fooling myself into thinking, yeah, I'm just gonna vape from now on. Like, this is better. And I was like, no, this is
worse.
It was worse.
You do it constantly.
Yeah.
You have all these sickly sweet smells.
Yeah, it's sick. It's sickly sweet, you know, at some point. And I was like, you know what? I miss fucking. I'm a man, for fuck's sake. Like, I should be smoking cigarettes. Like, I should be smoking tobacco. And I you know, I like it. I like the taste. I like it mixes well with everything else I like. I mean, what would I rather be tasting with my fucking, because I love scotch. What would I rather be tasting with my fucking scotch? Some fruity bullshit, or, you know, tobacco, nicotine.
A classic pairing with your blended scotch.
And another policy I have is when I go to parties, I get Marlboro Reds. I just get a pack of Marlboro Reds so I could give them out and smoke them. You know,
smoke them quickly. You can get back to things.
Yep.
It's a cigarette that a lot of people agree upon and like.
Yep. And I just give them fuck away. So, I figure by the time I'm done with that party, I should be done with that pack. You know, like, that's really how I look at it. So yeah, I recommend you. I recommend you start a cigarette. Let's start a cigarette club.
Just a smoking club in general is a pleasant idea.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It is. I like smoking. Well, it's also like, it's like when I feel like I recently started smoking cigarettes for the first time all over again, because now I feel like I did it under a different context with a little more respect for like tobacco, you know?
Yeah.
Because like Native Americans, for them, it was a medicine.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, it had medicinal properties then if they were using it as medicine for so long. And I was like,
medicinal properties today.
I'm like, what is it doing for me? Well, it's like helping me get through a lot of fucking bullshit, you know, like it enhances certain situations.
Look, tobacco is a leaf. It grows in the ground.
Indeed. And by smoking these Native American spirits, I help keep these fucking casinos running in America, you know?
I'm sure it's just one company, but yes.
Oh my God, it's so fun. Dude, you know those Native American owned casinos, yo?
Yes.
So my dad went to Ohio. He was telling me about it because he's got redneck friends out in Ohio that shoot guns.
Yes.
That's where he goes to shoot his guns. And he goes into the casinos with them, you know, with their families and shit. Yo, the food courts, bro, it's like deep fried everything. Like giant patties of catfish just deep fried. Or like blocks of mac and cheese deep fried. Or it's like I wouldn't be surprised if they had like just salmon deep fried. You know, like everything just deep fried. It's like that's their revenge on white people. Like they're gonna kill you with the food.
The food, the gambling itself.
It's so fucking crazy. I mean, if I were the Native Americans, I would not be bitching. If I was one of these res monkeys, is that a racial slur? I should be saying that stuff. Like fuck. If I was one of these fucking reservoir homies, you know,
reservoir dogs,
reservoir friends, you know, like no, reservation friends. That's what they're called. You know, from the reservations. Yeah. So if they're one of the reservation homies, I'm not like. I mean, I would be envious of them, you know. Like some of them are actually fucked up. Don't get me wrong, like because a bunch
and a bunch leave.
Yeah, a lot of their
which has dysgenic effects on the res.
Yeah, a lot of the communities are racked the fuck up with abuse, like intergenerational abuse,
domestic abuse, rape, violence, etc. Yeah,
generational curses. That literally is like a generational curse.
Alcoholism, drug addiction and abuse.
Oh my God,
overdosing. Yeah.
I don't know if I should even be bringing this up, but have you ever stumbled across like very like specific meme pages like res memes?
I haven't, but I think you've told me about them before.
Oh my God, they're so specific, but it's like you could tell they're fucking hilarious if you understand, even if without fully understanding the context, you know they're fucking hilarious. Yeah. Like, cause like all the memes are referencing, it's like, oh, that one drunk uncle, and it's always like some fucked up looking. It's like, it's like, don't worry, I'm an unk. I heard you broke up with your man. You know, like, all this fucking crazy. It's like, dude, this is probably like fucked up shit, but absolutely so real.
It's routine enough to have been in a memeified.
It's so funny though. Like I can't help but laugh at it. It's so fucking funny. Shit. Shout out to the the reservations, First Nation homies. Ooh. Also, you know, I always appreciate their spiritual insight, you know, that's always passed down. You know, when I talk to some of the homies like with Exertus on you know, the Latter Day Chad.
Yes.
It always brings like this eclectic gathering of people into different kinds of metaphysics. You know, you got like Gnostics, you got the straight up like transhumanists, you got the fucking you got the people who are really into like memetics, like meme magic, because it is it is a very potent form of magic. Actually.
Nick Land fans,
esotericism and stuff like that. And then there's me, and I guess I kind of fit into that nowadays. But it's funny because like you'll have a lot of rivalries, you know. I mentioned Carlos Castaneda on the stream, and someone in the comments was immediately like, "Oh, Carlos Castaneda sounds like new age hippie shit. No thanks, that's not for me." And I could already tell it's like, "Oh, you're part of the Jesus camp, probably. You know, you're part of the Gnostics or something. You know."
Yeah.
And it makes sense, like, because you want to preserve the fidelity of your own tradition. You want to preserve, especially if it did, like, if your way worked for you. Because remember, everyone's conservative about what they know best.
Yes.
Yeah. This is why like I present my shit on Facebook the way I do, because it's not like I'm trying to convince you to join my school or join my cult. I don't give a fuck about it. All I'm trying to do is just shout my own methods as loud as possible, because I know it's just going to get buried eventually. So I could just keep shouting it out as long as I can. And if I can't do that anymore, then so be it. Then I'll stop. You know, like if I get to a certain point in my life where it's like, yeah, it's not really beneficial for me to like start sharing those things, you know, that I've been practicing, and then I'll stop. But until then, I feel like, to me, it's like doing pro bono work before I really start using it to benefit myself. You know, it's like, I'm like, I did my shit. All right. I did my part. I didn't keep any of it a secret. I made sure it was all like, you know, not a cult, the opposite of a cult, which was like, you know, illuminated.
Yeah.
Because I'm on the side of illumination. That's what I'm on the side. In fact, I don't like occult stuff. I don't like it to be a cult. I would rather it be common knowledge. But however, I am starting to change my mind on that, because I realize there's two reasons why it's kept secret. And the first obvious one is to avoid the pitchforks, right?
Yeah.
Because if you present metaphysical ideas to a group of like, I don't know, like rubes, that they could get really pissed off at this shit, because it directly assaults your ego. It unravels you in a way, just to come in contact with this kind of like stuff. It does. Yes. And a lot of people react very negatively to that.
Alternative metaphysics are very alienating, off-putting, hostile seeming to people who aren't used to dealing with multiple metaphysics.
Yes.
Worldviews.
Yeah. And if they're very locked into their own mind and body, for example. Yeah. So there's that. And then the second part is, well, honestly, you also have people, this stuff is really easy to abuse. It is.
Yes.
It's not a game. It could be more powerful than a gun in some ways. You know, we're talking about methods of being able to like convince someone to kill someone for you. You know, like, here's an example. One of the most notorious users of this kind of metaphysical form of control, you know, of like other people's psyches, is the CIA. Intelligence agencies are really, really good at this. Yeah. If you think they don't believe in magic, oh, you got another thing coming. They're like one of the I'm not even talking about the CIA at this point. There's like so many other alphabet agencies that are like legit scarier now, like the DIA, for example. But like, you know, groups like this, like they got their balls deep into like this shit, and it is really a cult for them, because they actively use it. And it's not even like they could hide it. They know they can't hide it. All they could do is just not talk about it, and not credit it. You know, that's all they could do. They can never like, you know why? Because it's older than them. They're tapping into ancient shit. They're tapping into things that like we're taught like a little bit of in school, like about the Sumerians and the Babylonians and all that shit.
How much is that even referenced in school? I didn't go to school, so I don't know how much ancient. I know people have very vague at best ancient history, but they know the names of societies.
Yeah, I mean, because what they want to do when I was in middle school in the social studies class, it's basically your history class. But in your social studies class, what they want to do is they want to teach you about history. And if they're going to teach you about history, they want to teach you about what history is, which is the earliest known recorded events. You know, like
yeah.
So where would you start? It's like, all right, what's the earliest recorded history? And that's when they start lying to you. It's like, oh, it was here. Here is when history first started being made. Here is when the first person had the great idea of writing shit down, of like recording things, which is not true. You know, like they say, oh, history began with actually, you know what? They didn't make any claims like, oh, this is where history started. It's more like this is the earliest known history.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That is the common statement or common framing of it.
I mean, beyond that, you would go to like science class, you know, where they would teach you about natural history.
History, which is prehistory, the dinosaurs,
Early
Ice Age, earlier mammoth, or earlier mammals than Ice Age, mammoths, anatomically modern humans, and prehistory.
You know what? A lot of conservatives in particular like to shit all over the modern education system. I don't think it's that bad up to a certain point. Or maybe I got out when it was actually good.
Maybe, yeah.
But I will say this, though. I'm a high school dropout. I didn't go to college. So I think
same.
I think one of the reasons why I turned out semi-decently as I did was because I avoided... It's not that I think like less education is better for you. I think public school literally makes you fucking retarded. I think it's a retard factory. And it's not because of what they teach you. It's because of like the lack of oversight, the lack of organization, the real lack of structure. It's really like it's built on. It's more liberating though than like a purely nepotistic environment or purely like strictly meritocratic. Because there's ways for underprivileged students in the public school system to actually get a decent.
It's designed as a universalizing thing that brings people to equal footing. It might be lowest common denominator, but that's good for a huge number of people.
But somewhere along the line, the interests of like educating just the universal form of education in the public sector, like eventually gets to a point where it's like agendas creep in. You know?
Yes. I mean, we were speaking about religion before, about what you teach kids in school. That in and of itself is an agenda-driven decision.
Well, you know what? I will say this, though. I think a lot of conservatives are kind of just like freaking out over nothing when it comes to like teaching. Are they teaching about gay shit in my kids' schools? I don't think that's really true. Honestly,
even if it is, the kids are living in a society that permeates with
that's
that.
the bigger problem. It's not the
like
schools.
It's like when cons say that kids are indoctrinated into liberalism in school. They're already living in a society where that liberalism permeates everything about it.
Do you know why I'm not really like worried about that shit? It's because I can't imagine a trans person even able to become really a teacher. I mean, I'm sure there's like exceptions, but like more often than not, like, look, I'm not trying to be disparaging or discriminating, but a lot, like most trans people deal with body dysmorphia, which is like a major
it's
hurdle.
Kind of definitionally something they experience.
Exactly. And when it comes to like an actual disorder, you know, like a mental disorder or a personality disorder or any kind of major disorder like that, it's going to get in the way of like being able to get a job where minors are literally relying on you to be a responsible adult. You can't call yourself like a fully like reliable or dependable, you know, like a grown up, you know, like if like, for example, I don't know, like you're dealing with too much of your own personal shit that could just make you break down at any moment. Like when there's a school shooter, it's like, oh fuck, you know, like you're probably gonna freak out because you live with so many other fucking worries day to day. You know?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's like same reason why it's like, honestly, if you did want to be a champion of the trans people as a trans person, you should become a doctor, get a fucking PhD.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there are trans people with PhDs, but maybe there aren't enough.
Oh, there's a bunch with PhDs. I'm sure PhDs are overrepresented among at least trans women.
You think so?
Yeah. Overrepresented compared to the general population, I mean.
What do you mean? Like there's a lot of trans doctors?
There's a bunch of high IQ autists who are male to female. And I assume following from that, there's a bunch that have PhDs.
Yeah.
So the percentage of trans with PhDs is probably higher than the general population.
You know, here's something funny though. Like,
go ahead.
It is funny though to think of like, let's say you're a trans person, like a millennial, and you go through your shit. You identify very heavily, maybe you even take a bit of hormones or whatever. And then you discover spirituality.
Yeah.
Or you discover someone like me who's engaging with spirituality, and you hear what they have
And
to
you
say.
detransition.
No, I mean, see, I wasn't gonna say that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
because think about it, it's like, what happens then? It's like, oh fuck, I didn't have to worry so much about the body because I was an immortal soul anyway.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then it's like, I don't know. It's like, I feel like that could really be a blockage. It's like,
Yeah.
that could give me a reason to reject it. It's like, I don't want to engage with this. Like I don't want to do this anymore because I'm spiritual. Like I want to love my body, not change it. Like,
yeah, I'm sure it does happen. I wonder if the dissemination of this, you'll be shut down by big trans
That'll be
because you lead to so many detransitions.
Or what if it's the other way around where they can't even stop it? I mean, I'm pretty sure they're not stronger than the human soul. So
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna sit there and tell me your immortal soul cares this much about like altering God's given
Well,
body
they're
to-
saying that their immortal soul is the opposite of their given sex. That there is a
But the
mistake.
immortal soul doesn't have a gender. What the fuck? That's reductive of the soul. That's disrespectful of your soul.
Yeah.
To assume your soul is defined by dick or pussy. Like, what the fuck, man?
Well, they're saying that they're
How about
just
this?
changing their body to match their soul.
No, your soul has been a woman, a man, a woman, a man,
Yeah.
a woman, a man. I think it's a sickness to try to be so focused in that one single incarnation and trying to like be greedy about it.
I don't disagree.
It's controversial to say that
agree.
though. It's a very controversial thing to say. I'll admit that. And like it's not that I didn't put any fucking thought into this and I may sound callous about it, but come on. Like you could think about it for like a few minutes and what argument can be used against me? Say, well, you don't know what it's like to be such and such, but okay, well, I'm kind of glad I don't have that experience, like that's what you would agree with. Yeah, but I do believe in past lives, and I do believe in multiple lifetimes, and it's like, imagine if that'd be so fucked up. That's like, oh well, you can't have another lifetime anymore because you pulled some fucking wicked shit. No, I mean it's also funny because
Normally it's the other way around, where you have such a virtuous life, you don't have another life.
well, in the Book of Enoch, they say one of the reasons why they flooded the ancient advanced civilizations like Atlantis and Lemuria is because they were fucking around with their physical form. Like they were splicing their physical form to be more animal like, to have like the torso of like the bottom half of a fish, or to have wings of an eagle, or like the head of a dog or something, like because they were doing these things, the higher ups, the greater like one dimension higher than us was like, your guys are fucking up the whole thing. Like this is going to destroy everything. So what do? You create a flood. Maybe you shift the moon, just like 5 feet closer for like 10 seconds, and that's enough to just whoosh, like wash everything away. Yeah, we never know. Like
It's true. I want to take a break.
yeah. I was just gonna say I gotta get ice.
So engaging. I'm good. Yes.
All right, and we're back. So
We're back.
We just did this thing where we were mixing scotch and water. Now, here's
Cutting it.
Here's why I think that's a good thing to do. It's because it's like scotch is already like a really rich spirit, like a really rich liquor. So imagine like looking at like an extremely dense, very detailed PNG file.
Yeah.
Right? When you pour water into it, it's like being able to like zoom into the picture and like looking at all the details,
Yes. Oh yeah, you're magnifying it. You're expanding the amount there. You're getting a better taste of a better sense of the taste profile.
It's more spread out.
Yeah, it's more diluted. It's less. It could be overwhelming by itself.
So you can't pick out.
out. Yes,
but if you put like a dash of water into it, it expands it. Like
you get a better sense. It drinks more easily too. But yes,
yeah. So that's why I liked it. And I first learned about it actually from watching Inglourious Bastards.
Yes,
the British guy. He was like getting his briefing, and he's like, "Do you want a drink?" And he's like, I wouldn't fight a scotch and water if you offered a scotch and water. Yeah. And I was like, why scotch and water? And then I was thinking about it. I was
he also doesn't want to get as drunk as fast because he's working. But yes.
And I thought about it. I was like, you know what? I normally like to drink scotch with ice anyway. When I saw that, I was like, Well, that makes sense because then the Scotch melts.
Diluting it, yes.
Yeah, and then that kind of like it's not that I prefer diluted Scotch over non-diluted Scotch. It's like when you put the ice in it, it's like getting to sip through phases of something.
Yeah, and you're getting different senses. For instance, if you use soda, carbonated water,
exactly. Like you start with like an over like when you first put ice in the Scotch, it's like it's very rich, but it's very cold and it's very fresh. And then as you sip it slowly, it gets more and more diluted. Yeah. And by the time you get to the bottom, it's just like all ice. It's like, and then you're ready for a cleaner round. It's like, all right, fill it up. And then it's like, and then you really get going. It's like Scotch on the rocks is the best first drink. And then from there, it's just leave the bottle and just keep pouring. That's the way to do it. Like, and I fucking love Scotch for this reason. Maybe I really, it's not that I tried to be like macho or masculine about shit. It's just, if like you told me it's like Scotch is actually a very macho thing, I'd be like, well, fuck, I guess lucky me then, because I just it's something I love, like I just naturally.
Well, it has that heavy association for sure. Divorced dads, Scotch and cigar.
Well, it's not just that.
Influencers.
It's this aesthetic that's very
masculinity. Yeah, very masculine coded.
Well, when you ever taste something and you get transported to a place. Mm-hmm. So when I taste Scotch, I get a really rustic surrounding. Like when that's where it transports me to. Somewhere very rustic, somewhere very like warm. I mean, it could be like wintertime, but I'm like in a warm cabin. And I like that. I like that sensation. And the reason why I like that sensation is because I find myself in solitude, sitting in front of like a computer or notebook or something, or a sketchbook or whatever, trying to like map something out, like, or building a bike. It's like I want to be in a mood where it's like I'm not fucking sipping vodka cranberry. I want to be in a mood where I'm sipping a nice Scotch in front of a fireplace, with my dog or cat, nearby.
Yes.
So yeah. I'm not a very solitary person. It's just I do a lot of things that require solitude, and if I'm required to be in solitude as I do these things, might as well enhance it for like, a higher
experiential
solitary
level.
Aesthetic.
Yeah, sitting here with your cat, your whole rig set up.
Yeah. So, last time we left off, we were talking about cuck porn, cucking porn,
Atlantis and Lemuria. And Mu, I presume, being drowned by the flood.
Yeah, because of trans people.
Yeah,
I mean,
but not trans and MTF. Though I suppose there's that too.
Like real trans people, as in like they were trans. They were trans
human animal hybrids.
Yeah, that's the real trans. That would be a nightmare if we had access to that capability.
Chimeras, yes.
Holy shit! I would show up one day and I have like the bottom half of a giant horse, and it's like, what the fuck? You're a centaur now?
Yeah.
Yeah, finding pants is a real nightmare.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you don't need fighting pants. You just girdle your loin, I suppose.
Well, centaurs, being a centaur is rough because like you got to like really mount a bitch to fucking.
Yeah.
To fucking have sex, like.
But your cock is huge, so it all balances out.
There would probably be some hot chicks who are like really, really into it.
A lot, I'm sure.
They would be like, I want to try this,
Yeah.
Would you be into a chick a chick centaur?
No, I don't think so. No. I'd be more into a reverse mermaid who's a fish on top and a pussy on bottom.
That's so funny. That would be really
But
funny.
A lady centaur, I'm just fucking a horse pussy. Like the tits are up front, but I can't even feel them while I'm fucking her horse pussy.
Oh my god. I'm trying to imagine like fucking like, bottom half woman, top half fish. I'd be like, holy shit. This is craziness. And they would have to like speak to you telepathically, which would be actually pretty cool.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's an interesting thought. Like real chimera people, and God saw that and was like, yeah, we're not doing this anymore. Like this is done. And little did we know, there's still some vestiges back from that time. You have like conehead people apparently hiding in the Vatican. You have lizard people. You have
anthrophages,
Bigfoots
with no heads but a face on their stomach.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Cyclops.
Yeah.
My favorite thing is like the whole like reptilians transform.
The shape-shifting reptilians.
But I don't think it's like shape-shifting like as in like they physically like change their skin. I think it's more to do with like
psychological. They look like a lizard all the time on camera, but they're just convincing you through the riz and their vril that they are a human.
That's actually really fucking cool. But what I think it's also like it's bending light or like manipulating light. And if you think about what matter is, it's literally just solid light. It's like frozen light,
Yes.
Because like light is what, like electron, like what is light made out of? Corpuscles, I think it was called. But it's something to do with like
it's both a wave and a particle. Yeah.
Yeah. So which is very fucking weird. Yeah. But so if you look at like electrons, like that's pretty adjacent to like a wave / particle, right? And I don't know, it's like when you break things down to like the subatomic level, it's like hard to distinguish anything from anything, right?
Yes. Yeah, that raw level.
And now here's the weird part. Why do subatomic particles react to thought, to observation? Like you heard about the double slit experiment, yes?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
See, that's actually a big deal because what does that mean on the most fundamental?
I don't know. Consciousness is a property of matter.
Consciousness is a type of energy, maybe?
Okay.
Consciousness is a form of directed energy?
Yeah, it's something innate, though. Something very basic.
I mean, it literally can just be directed energy.
Yeah.
Because like if we're talking about something at a subatomic level, now the thing is we're collapsing probability. Like if you go down to like a quantum level, you're dealing with probability, right? Like what exactly makes this subatomic particle shift this many degrees right, which causes the atom to shift that many degrees right, which causes that atom to shape. It's like it basically boils down to the butterfly effect, or expands out to the butterfly effect, right?
Yeah.
Like you know how they say, oh, if you step on a blade of grass, you could fucking change the whole universe.
Yeah.
Well, who's to say like a shift in electrons can't do the same thing? And who's to say a thought can't be enough to shift the whole outcome or probability of like the behavior of an electron or a subatomic particle? I mean, that makes perfect sense. I mean, because think about every event in human history. It's always started as a thought, did it not?
Yeah.
Like, literally. The reason why this could all lead to ontological shock for all you small pea-brain little fuckers, it's because what this means is that reality is downstream from consciousness. Ultimately.
Yeah, I think that is obviously the case. I shouldn't say obviously, but it's becoming more and more clear that it's
naturally the case, we should say. So how do you fuckers deal with that, motherfucker? Like, can you handle that? Can you handle a subjective reality? Can you handle living in an earth where there is no fucking bedrock of reality? Yes or no, people? Answer in the comments. I have faith in y'all. Don't get me wrong. Like whoever's watching, like, because I have faith in me. I think I can handle a subjective reality because I think that means we're all co-creators.
Yeah.
We're all the directors of the same movie, which is very scary to think about, but I think we can make it work. It'll be chaotic. It'll be like Twitch plays Pokemon. You ever heard of that?
Yes, I have.
Interesting concept.
And that fish playing Pokemon as well.
Yeah. So like reality is the character.
Yeah.
And then everyone inputting is like us, interacting with that reality and making that reality as we do. The only reason why it's not obviously subjective is because so many of our collective different individual wills are like clashing, so it gives the illusion that it's objective reality, but it's not. It's subjective. It's downstream from consciousness.
Yeah.
Maybe not our individual consciousness, but a consciousness. Sorry, did that bake your noodle?
No, it didn't. I'm just thinking through it. Also tired and drunk, but yeah, just thinking through it. That interplay of different consciousnesses.
Yeah.
Consciousness. I was gonna go for something light if you don't mind here, but mentioning Pokemon. Funny to think, a distinctly millennial cultural phenomenon, though heavily prominent among Zoomers and presumably alphas. Do you think that there was a world before Pokemon as a media franchise? Also, it's a game that I didn't play that much of. I played it a bit as a boy and then had no interest to continue playing the sequels. Did you? Which ones did you play? Unless you find this a tedious subject.
No. I was just thinking Pokemon. I played a lot. I love Pokemon. Pokemon. I played up to I think like seriously played up to like Ruby, Pearl, Diamond. No, sorry, Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald. But I was just thinking like maybe I forgot who said this. Someone created like a really cool like headcanon where they were like Pokemon was what our real world used to be like a million years ago or something like or like 200,000 years ago or 500,000 years ago. Like it was just an iteration of like human society.
A society based on rock, scissor, paper interactions.
Yeah. No. But actually, you know that whole combat system. You know where it really came from?
Where?
Samurai fights. Because if you look at like a real samurai,
intriguing.
Like if you really look at a samurai fight and you break down the exchange of like blows and like parries and whatever, it really is like we're both waiting to see who moves first, and whoever like has the confidence in their technique first, like goes. I mean, they could be very wrong in their judgment and end up getting parried and killed. But that is really like it to a layman. You look at a samurai fight, it just looks like guys like swinging swords and blocking each other, and blah blah blah. But you know, like for the guys doing it, it's like if he attacks first, I know the distance, so I'll step back and then I'll kill him right out. Because it takes one movement to swing. And it takes one movement to bring back up, and it takes one movement to swing again. It only takes one movement to bring up and one movement to bring down. So if you're the guy who attacks first in that exchange, you lose. However, if your attack is right and you get it that first time, then you win. So it really, a samurai sword fight really is like rock, paper, scissors in the end. You know, it's like, because it's
a highly optimized, the meta of samurai fights, Japanese swordsmanship,
it's rock, paper, scissors,
has been highly optimized.
Because think about it this way, it's mathematical. You can only swing in 8 different directions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You know, so knowing that, like, it does boil down to, okay, so if it's from this side or this side or this side, I only need this block or this block to block any attack from this side. I only need this block and this block to block any attack from this side. And if it's straight down the middle, oh man, then I have all the options. Then I could go like block this side and strike, or block that side and strike. It is like rock, paper, scissors. So when you see a Pokemon battle, that's exactly what they're mimicking. Like it only seems turn-based because that turn-based is pretty much like the illusion of a Pokemon battle is slowing down time. In reality, like if you were to see like playing that video game, that Pokemon video game, and you were to see that same exchange in real time, it would be so much faster. It'd be like, use agility, dodge it, use quick attack. Oh no, fucking use flamethrower. Don't let him get. It's really like that. Like it's like coaching. It's like the coach in a boxing ring. You know, it's like don't let him get you. Don't let him get you. Dodge that shit. Dodge that shit. Duck it. Use flamethrower. Use flamethrower. That's really what it is.
Well, you're Pokemon trainers, so yes.
The show did a good job at it, but even the show had to like slow it down, you know, like into a duel. But yeah, that's what they're really mimicking. So if you that's where they got it from. It was really supposed to be like a samurai fight. Interesting, right?
It is. That is, and also perhaps explains a lot about JRPGs as a whole.
Of course,
mechanics.
100%. Because that's how they look at fighting when they break it down on the meta level. Because like if you look at a JRPG battle and you actually like saw the turn-based combat in real time, it would be a lot faster. Which I think if you look at modern JRPGs,
that's turn-based games in general are designed to imagine that.
People complain about modern JRPGs by saying, "Oh, you're straying too far from its turn-based RPG, hardcore JRPG roots." In my opinion, I think it's becoming what they always wanted it to be, what it was always supposed to be. You know, what it was like meant to look like high paced or fast paced like movements and like teleporting and crazy like instant magic spells and shit. And like you could map out your own triggers. That's really what it was supposed to be. That's what it looks like. If you watch like movies and stuff like of like JRPG series, you know,
Yeah.
that's how they depict it because that's what it's supposed to be.
Fitting, makes sense. The cultural norms that are in following off of what? Jidakai? I'm trying to think of the term for sword fighting movie in Japanese, but I'm spacing on it, or period piece. Never mind.
You know what's really fun to imagine? It's like getting into like gang fights, like not gang fights.
It is fun to imagine. I wouldn't want to be in one, but it's fun to imagine.
What if it was like me and you at a bar, and then we just got
I have a lot of fantasies like that myself.
Not even a fantasy, but I'm saying like a scenario where it's like we got into a fight with someone who was exactly our size. You know, it's like that would be funny to think about. It's like fuck.
You know, it's like who would win in a fight, Superman or Goku?
Superman.
Yeah, I don't know. I know that. Well, I like Jews, so I'm going to say Superman. But if I was black or Hispanic, I would say Goku.
Superman would fuck up Goku. It wouldn't even be a fair fight.
You know, women hate that question.
What?
Who would win in a fight, Superman or Goku?
Why?
It's just part of female nature, or rather, they usually have an absurd response like, "Who's Goku?" And then you say, "How is it possible you don't know who Goku is?" And every single guy around you, millennial or younger, will agree and take your side against them.
And then they get really upset.
I don't know about it. Sometimes I think often it just seems absurd.
I think some women out there will know. You know, I think I know some women.
Yeah, a whole bunch of women will know.
Yeah.
Even if they know, though, they'll find the question itself stupid to ask. Most of the time. Not always, but a lot of them will say, why do you care? Well, whereas to me, it's a very important, fascinating question.
Well, the truth is Superman would win.
Yeah, it's like who wins in a race, Superman or the Flash?
Here's the deal, like for Goku to do all of his shit, he has to expend his chi. Like he has to use. That's why he fucking eats so much. Like he really does expend a lot of his will energy in his attacks and just flying and doing all sorts of shit. Yeah. Superman, for him, like flying isn't anything to do with his energy. It's like it's
part of being a Kryptonian on Earth with its yellow sun.
Yeah. Like Superman is literally just it's not even like an expenditure of energy for him to fly. He could just fly as long as he's conscious.
Yeah,
which is incredible. You know, that's other dimensional. That's not even otherworldly. Actually, that is pretty much otherworldly, but still, like that's like you can't conceive of that. That defies the laws of physics. At least the idea of expending chi to be able to like do that, you know, like that kind of makes sense. You know, that's still great. Whereas Superman, the thing Superman could do, all right, like the only thing Goku has over Superman is instant transmission. That's amazing.
Yeah, and also Goku becomes an Aryan, while Superman is inherently a Jew.
Yeah, all right. So don't get me wrong. There is a lot of like discrepancy when you think about, say, Goku going Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan 3, Instinct.
The power scaling and the absurdities of it. But yes.
However, I still think Superman's power threshold is still higher.
Probably higher. Yeah, that's true, I think.
Because we're talking about moving at like the speed of light whenever you want. It's not even like I have to power up to Super Saiyan 3 to do this. It's like literally just, I can do this whenever I want.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with Superman overall.
Yeah, Superman would destroy, and he could shoot laser beams from his. It's not even like a Kamehameha wave. Like,
okay, serious question, Chris. If we asked a bunch of random working class black or Hispanic guys in a bar, do you think they're more likely to say Superman or Goku?
Instinctively, they would at first say Goku, but then I would have to like give them the facts, and then they would
be convinced by you, and they'll be shouting very loudly.
And then I would have to shout over them, and they would shout over me. But then eventually,
I think you're correct.
But eventually, they would see reason.
Yeah,
they'd be like, "All right, you're right. Superman would scrub Goku."
Yeah.
He would though. Superman.
I agree. He would. Just like the variety of powers, the power scaling as mentioned.
It's not even power scaling for Superman. It's just he's God. He is God. Yeah. He is a god. Goku is close to a god, but he's not. He's just a real. He's like, it's like comparing Zeus to Achilles.
Yeah.
Goku is Achilles. Superman is like Zeus.
A demigod to a god, quite literally.
Yeah, pretty much. And that's the thing about Superman. Superman is literally a god. That's why Superman's greatest challenge is not to be super. Superman's greatest challenge is to make himself weak. Which is why I like Invincible. Invincible is a really good series. I just don't like Steven Yeun got so much control over it.
Yeah, I haven't watched it. I never read the comics.
It's good.
I believe you.
Do you want to know what Invincible is about?
I know what I don't know. A kid's like his father is a Superman-like but villainous intergalactic empire. The kid is a Hoppa because this evil Superman guy fucked an Asian woman.
Yeah. So
and
he wasn't immediately evil. So his mission, his race, it's like imagine Kryptonians, but instead of just like
Viltrumians.
Viltrumites.
So
So Viltrumites, their whole thing is they're basically Kryptonians, but they're empirical, meaning they have to go out and conquer shit.
Imperialistic,
right? So, what they do is if they find intelligent life on a planet, they will send a Viltrumite there to do reconnaissance. And to do reconnaissance, the thing about Viltrumites is they live to be like thousands. Well, I don't know, like 1,000 years old or so, which is a long time compared to humans.
Yeah.
So. But anyway, like a Viltrumite goes to a new planet and they immediately make themselves known, as in like, I'm an alien, I could do this, and I'm here to protect you. I'm here to just live amongst you. I know I don't belong here, but I'm just going to help you out whenever
they directly subvert the dual identity.
Yeah. So what happens is like once they do that, they also get a wife, right? I mean, they do have the whole like what's it called, the secret human identity. That's the only way they can live. Yeah, that's the only way they could live a normal life.
Oh, I see.
However, like his name is Nolan. His Earth name is Nolan, but his Viltrumite name is whatever. And but the whole thing is like he's basically Superman. Functionally, he's Superman in the world.
He has the same power set.
However, his deeper agenda was to be an imperialist for his home planet. Like the only difference between him and Superman is that Superman's planet was destroyed, and he's a refugee essentially, like a Jew.
Yeah.
Whereas Nolan is like a
colonialist,
undercover, like pretending to be like a refugee.
I see. But he's actually an infiltrator from this alien species.
Yeah, and then the problem is though, like. As per Viltrumite custom is they make babies, right? You know? And when you make a baby, that adds complications. Not only your potential, I mean, apparently Viltrumites are really good at cutting off emotions or really indoctrinating their children. But for some reason, this one Earthling kid, just this one Hoppa Earthling Viltrumite kid was like, nah, I don't want to do this, Dad. I love my black girlfriend.
Yeah.
I love Earthlings. I love college. I love capitalism. I love this oppressive government. And there is like a secret service type, like fucking like deep state government that's like knowing about all this shit, and they're like a major entity. Oh god, it's so this shit is like so fucking fuck it. You know what? Now that I just explained it like that, fuck Invincible. Like I don't even like this shit anymore. Like fuck this shit. I love my black girlfriend, Dad. I don't destroy my planet. Holy shit. No, it's a good show. I don't mean to shit on it. It's good.
I believe it.
Yeah. His best friend is gay. Is a gay redheaded kid. You're like, nah, no way. Yeah, it's a yes way.
That makes sense to me. It's very, very believable.
It's very modern. It's very apropos for the modern times.
I've talked about the genre enough, but it's odd how there's been 15 years of MCU domination in the box office. Ah, fuck! I've lost my train of thought here with where I was.
You're going to talk about Deadpool or Wolverine?
No, I was.
It's a
Gonna
good
talk,
movie.
I know
Yo.
we were talking about it before. I wanted to say no. I've said multiple times how bored I am of it,
Yeah, me too.
and everyone is. But
Yeah, I'm bored. I'm bored of MCU. I'll say it. I don't give a fuck who has a problem with that. All right, if you got a problem with that, fucking
who
suck
even
Wolverine's
cares
dick.
anymore? After several terrible movies, I think the majority of society
You know what's funny
is tired
about
of MCU.
Yo, everything you've said about that, they literally directly said in Deadpool and Wolverine. They were like, everyone's tired. Like, you know, you
Yeah.
definitely dropped the bag on the last few things. Yo, the breaking the fourth. I think.
You were very fond of it, and I know it made
No.
$1 billion.
It's I hate how good it is. I hate how good it is. I really do. I hate that they managed to tap into what every MCU watcher was feeling, and it's like they did it. It pisses me off because that means they're that self aware. Like
Yeah.
Feige was literally in the movie as himself, meeting with Deadpool, saying like, "Well, we want to accept you in, but." You know, throughout the whole movie, they were like, "We can't have cocaine in the movie." Seriously? It's like, yeah, we can't. Like, that's one of Feige's rules. We can't have cocaine in the movie. And they were talking. It's like, we can't even. What about like Colombian marching powder? It's like, no, they know all the slang too.
For the Chinese market.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the Chinese market in particular.
But it was really funny because he directly said it. He referenced. He was like, "Oh wait, no," because in the other movies, the Deadpool movies, they did cocaine, and that was like a big thing in the Deadpool and Wolverine. They were like saying, "It's like, oh no, we can't have cocaine," like you know, because that's one of Feige's rules. Like, they can't show us doing cocaine, which is really funny. You know, it's like that. It's that. I didn't think they would be that good at breaking the fourth wall in a movie in a cinematic context.
Yeah.
Because in a comic, it's great. You know, they get to talk about like Lady Gaga and Deadpool comics. They get to talk about the writers' lives and the writers' divorce. You know, it's like cool. But in a movie, it's like, holy shit. What were you saying about the MCU though? Sorry, are you okay? Are you
I'm
really-
fine. I am spaced out, too drunk, too high, but it's fine.
Oh, you're fucked up.
I'm fucked up.
You don't have to act sober, man. You could be fucked up. It's all good. Just talk about what your fucked up self would talk about.
That's true too. I don't know. I don't have anything else to add to that subject.
No, you don't have
I
to
don't
talk
know,
about.
but yeah, whatever I would.
All
talk
right.
about
Well,
my
have you ever
fucking
watched a
subject.
Marvel movie with a girl?
No.
No.
Wait. My mom, I suppose. That's the extent of it.
Oh well, that counts.
Yeah, I guess it does.
Not
But
like
never,
you know,
no, never with a girl I was romantically interested in.
You should.
Yeah, why? Because of the way they react to them.
No, because no matter who you are, as long as you're like not like a complete jaded asshole.
Yeah.
Like if you watch, it's like you just tell a girl, it's like, yo, you want to get really fucking high, make a bunch of pizza bagels, and just watch all the fucking Marvel movies. And you start with Iron Man 1, and you're gonna think this is a fucking joke. But you're gonna get really into it. You're gonna be like, "Holy shit, this is good for 2008." And you watch the next one.
It's better than most of. What do you mean good for? It's much better than the majority of the films.
But then you
in
watch the next
MCU.
one, and then you're gonna be like, "Oh fuck, yeah, they didn't do this as well." But you know, this got better. And then you watch it, and it becomes a very bonding experience because there's enough Marvel movies out there where if you really, as a
I don't know.
guy,
If a girl likes you, she wants you to be autistic around her.
no, I mean, you smoke weed together. You can make fun
Yeah.
of it together. You could talk shit about it. Oh, remember all the Marvel bros when this one came out? Yeah, that was
Yeah.
like insufferable. Like, yo, it's a bonding experience. Like, it really is. You could talk shit about it. You could eat junk food over it. You could eat, you know, it could become like a date night tradition. You know, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
babe, like, but we always watch a Marvel movie like on this time of the month. You know, it's like, it's like. Just to talk shit about it, you know, it's like it's not a bad thing, you know, it's not bad. You could hate on it if you want, but if you do it together, it's still a wholesome activity. Anyway, yeah, Marvel movies. Marvel movies are pretty much a staple of our culture now at this point. Like they're so quick to fall into that because the Avengers movies were just undoubtedly good. Like nobody can
Yeah.
deny that.
It's been said before, but it's true that Endgame is really the proper ending to the entire MCU.
I mean, if the MCU just ended, yeah, that's what I really want. I want the MCU to end.
I think you can effectively say it did with Endgame. Frankly, Infinity War is a much better movie. Endgame is barely a movie.
Yeah, Endgame is like a theme park ride.
Endgame feels like
it's a giant epilogue. It's like a 3-hour-long epilogue.
Endgame feels like 3 episodes of a television show stitched together, and then released as a movie, which is something that used to be done on TV or in VHS.
But you know what? I will give credit to Endgame. They did the connections that was unprecedented in the whole everything that came before it. Like Infinity Wars didn't even have that kind of coalescence, like that Endgame had. It had Guardians of the Galaxy, it had fucking the Avengers, it had fucking the Hulk, it had everybody.
Yeah.
Spider-Man was awesome. Doctor Stephen Strange, Thor.
You and I think I said this before on this podcast. What I hate about the MCU Spider-Man is that he's not a kid that has weirdly corny old-time references.
He's a real zoomer.
Yeah, he should be a zoomer who has an intense knowledge of black and white film. Like he doesn't seem like a kid that was raised by his grandparents. The thing is that he's raised by his great aunt and uncle, so it's like being raised by your grandparents.
But he got raised by a young, hot. She's awesome. I love the new.
He should have encyclopedic knowledge of film history. He shouldn't be referring to The Empire Strikes Back as an old movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think that's comic accurate as well.
It's because of his aunt. It's who they chose to make Aunt May. It's like she was a young, hot aunt. Not like.
She could be a young hot aunt. He should still have like an encyclopedic
You know what this
knowledge
means?
of the past.
This means Uncle Ben and Aunt May went from boomers to
Gen X parents.
Yes. Yeah.
No, originally they were like silent generation parents, or no, greatest generation.
Greatest generation parents.
But now Peter Parker is maybe even older than great. No.
New Peter Parker's parents are Gen X.
Yeah.
Yeah. So who was right before Gen X?
Boomers.
So yeah. So what? That's really what it was replaced by. Like Peter's parents were Gen X. I'm assuming, right?
Yeah. It seems like that with
You know what would be crazy? What if Peter's parents were millennials?
Yeah.
That could work.
Yeah. You have to wait. He's 2 generations behind from being raised by old people is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, so
he should be making a lot of old.
Well, if Peter's parents, new Peter's parents were millennials, which would be amazing actually. Peter Parker's parents, of the
society, we would have to be 80 years into the future for it to really be impactful.
I'm still saying, I mean, even now I could appreciate it. You know, if they're if Zoomer Peter Parker had millennial parents, that's pretty crazy. And what that means is that would make sense that Aunt May and Uncle Ben were Gen Xers, and Uncle Ben, the Gen X. It would be crazy if Uncle Ben that died was a Gen X Uncle Ben. I would feel sad. It's like, imagine a guy. He probably liked playing Pac-Man and Mario and Donkey Kong. And he's just Gen X Uncle Ben got murdered because of Zoomer Peter. Yo, it's cool. It's really cool. I like new Spider-Man. I like new context Spider-Man. And also, what was really good that fucking Tim Titus broke down really good was Black Panther.
Yeah,
that was a brilliant movie in the worst way.
How did he break it down?
He was saying how Black Panther was basically about a neoconservative monarch, like a neoconservative black monarch who teams up with a white CIA agent to ruthlessly take down
a Maoist terrorist.
To ruthlessly take down an allegory for the Black Lives Matter movement.
Yeah, that's absolutely accurate.
Yeah,
it is the clearest reading of it, and it's fascinating.
And you know what's funny? It's like, and then when I read that, I was like, Black Panther is literally the kind of movie that a really smart conservative would love, but a really retarded liberal would also love. It's like this. It struck the perfect chord of.
It did. The CGI fucking sucks, but tonally, it was perfect. Ideologically, I agree. I'm a big fan of Black Panther.
Seriously, it was amazing.
It is an incredible. It's an internet right winger fantasy.
It's so hilarious, dude. It's like, this is what I want. I want the right Africans to go and fucking kill these hoodlum American black dudes. It's like,
he never. I don't think he was ever called an Akata in it, but it feels like it would be appropriate to the movie.
It's so funny.
The Yoruba word for Black American, but yes.
And you know what's funny? They pulled this off without a heartbeat.
No mainstream acknowledgement of it.
There were a couple of hoteppers on like YouTube and Instagram that said, Black Panther is an evil movie.
Yeah.
And I mean, they were right, but they said too many other ridiculous things for anyone to give a shit about what they were saying. But they were right. They were absolutely. It's like Malcolm X. It's like Malcolm X would see Black Panther, he'd be like, "Are you fucking kidding me, motherfucker?"
Yeah.
Like, it's so true. Like, fuck, Black Panther was truly like really against the black agenda. Like
Black American agenda. Caribbeans and Africans, I'm sure,
they love
enjoyed
that
it.
shit. Wakanda forever.
Yeah, they love those kind of tacky displays. It is really brilliant that I made a movie for the international Negroid population.
But the American blacks are the ones.
I can't believe. I know. I remember thinking the villain is a Black American, and he's depicted in the most.
He did nothing wrong.
Yeah. No, he did. He did numerous because he's a psycho. He just kills his bitch for no reason. He kills people left and right for no reason except because he's
Michael B. Jordan.
He's traumatized
from being a soldier.
He's traumatized from being a black. He has this fantasy of himself as an oppressed Black American.
He is the blow. Yeah.
Well, running up against the.
He was literally Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, it's
insane.
That is the correct reading of Black Panther.
It's so cool though, like that they actually pulled it. It's evilly genius. I'm like, how did they do that? How did they really like pull? Nobody knows about it. Nobody talks about it, but they don't understand.
Was it intentional? I assume it was intentional, but maybe racistly it wasn't intentional.
But what's insane is everyone ate it up. Everyone ate it the fuck. They lapped it up like dog shit with a big grin on their face. I'm like, what the
They were pandered to so easily.
And you know what? I looked at the fight scenes and guess what I saw?
They suck so much.
Guess what I heard? Like trap beats, like super fast hi-hat with the 808 bass. And I'm like, yeah, this would be playing, huh? Like when they're having this epic black guy fight. It's like it's so fucking insulting. I'm like, holy shit. Like they really got away with this. Fucking crazy.
It lived up to its blaxploitation origins.
Maybe that's really what it is. They were like, yeah, okay, you're right. It was supposed to be blaxploitation as fuck. So why not keep it going?
Miraculous accomplishment, but
Jesus, fucking shout out to Black Panther, amazing movie.
It really is.
And they even
I wish that the fight scenes of the CGI were good. Everything else about it is great.
The best part was they ended it by giving like a Wakanda outreach center in like the South Central.
They build a basketball court, they build a community center in Oakland.
Like, you come here, play some basketball, play with some little Wakanda technology, and then you go home to your projects. You know?
They continue to maintain Afrofuturist Israel in Africa.
Hells yeah.
It is great how Wakanda in real life would be an ally of South Africa and Israel.
Oh my God, they would be like, "Yo, I thought when you said we were bringing outsiders, I thought you meant we would open up a Starbucks, maybe host the Olympics." That was the best line in the movie. Honestly, I heard that, I was like, mwah. Like whoever wrote that should have. As soon as they wrote that line, they were like, you know what, I'm just gonna go home for the day and just relax because that was just too good.
Yeah,
because it was. I thought you meant opening up a Starbucks or maybe host the Olympics.
Yes.
I was like, that is blue pilled as fuck. So good though. With the accent and everything. Yo, those are some we gotta admit, those are some dastardly people making those fucking movies.
Yeah. Kevin Feige in particular.
He is diabolical.
He's a bigger producer success than anyone from the golden age of Hollywood.
You know why? It's because he loves Marvel so much. I bet he's willing to suck P. Diddy's dick 30 times just to make a good Marvel movie. I bet he's willing to fuck 100 kids to make a good Marvel movie. He's literally, he loves this shit so much, he's willing to do every evil thing just to produce an effective Marvel movie because he's an actual fan. Like he's such a big fan, he's willing to do this shit.
I feel like he's long higher ranking than a P. Well, not higher ranking, but on a P. Diddy level.
Oh, so he's like got the darkness in him.
I don't know about darkness, but certainly level of wealth. So he probably has the darkness in him. Yes.
All I'm saying is that he loves this shit so much, he's willing to go that extra step for it, you know? He's a real fan. He's a real Marvel fan.
Yeah.
He's basically the new, I don't want to say it, but he's the new, what's his name?
Harvey Weinstein?
No. Well, maybe, but no, that's not who I meant. Who is the comic book guy?
Stan Lee?
Yeah, he's the new Stan
Oh,
Lee.
yeah. He is actually Stan Lee's successor.
Absolutely.
Through MCU. I agree with that.
Literally the new
assessment.
Stan Lee. Like Stan Lee looked at Feige and he was like, "You're the future of my legacy."
Well, he was always appearing in cameos because he was so old and in desperate need of money.
Well, now he's dead, so.
A lot of his money was stolen from him by various cons towards the end of his life.
Yeah, but he didn't have any loyalty to his fucking family. He only had loyalty to his brand, and his brand's alive, so he...
No, he had loyalty to his daughter who did a lot to exploit him.
Yeah, but that's fine. Honestly, like, if anyone is allowed to exploit him, it's his fucking daughter. Is that shitty of her? Yes. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, it's very shitty to exploit your own fucking father.
He was a bad boss in a lot of ways.
Exactly. Like,
but at the same time, he's
responsible for his own daughter for sure. You know?
Yeah. And probably just being old and mentally impaired. Maybe I think if he had a lot more kids like Jews did in the past, another one of his kids who was a more moral person would have stepped in and protected him.
Good advice, guys. Make sure you have a lot of kids just as backups. You know, like you never know.
None of them are trying to con you out of any money you're suddenly making.
Or unless you were so shitty to all of them where they all team up against you, which happens actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think my grandmother is like that. Like she apparently really like fucked up her kids, like my dad included. My dad is still every time he calls me, he talks about it all the time. He's like, your grandma disowned me, you know, like they got, because I know he's probably being dramatic because she was being overly dramatic, because you know, like that's what you say to your kids when you're being overly dramatic, is you're no longer my son.
Was it related to his life, his employment?
No, not at all. It was more so, well, he's like perfectly legit. He's like he's doing honest work. Like, he's been doing it for like decades. But it's just my grandma's like, I guess, going through some shit, you know, like going through some she's doing her shadow work way too late, basically. You know, and it's upsetting, like, to do your shadow work in like your early 80s, you know, but yeah, she's going through it and it's okay. I think it's never too late to do shadow work, honestly. Truly. So she's going through her shit, and and her kids are taking the brunt of it, like my aunts and my dad. So it's rough for them. Luckily for me, everyone loves me though, you know. So like, so I think that's what my dad wanted me around when my grandma came back from Korea recently. He was like, "Yeah, just hang around." And I think because my grandmother just feels more, you know, at ease when she sees me just doing all right, you know, like, not like fucked up. So yeah. it's probably a energy. I look at it as an energetic thing. They probably look at it as a psychological thing. You know, I don't mean to put myself above my elders, but you know, sometimes like the new kids really do have it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're about to wrap this episode up after I finish the cigarette, but we could talk about some closing statements. For before I finish the cigarette, I want to get through talk about the election.
Okay. Go ahead.
I think we should vote for Andrew Yang.
Yo, how about Eric Adams being indicted? We haven't talked about that.
Yeah, but that guy, he dug his own grave, though.
It's hilarious how openly corrupt he was, because there's already been a playbook on how to be a corrupt mayor of a northeastern or midwestern city for a long time.
That's what you get for fucking around with Diddy, though, right?
He just was a retard. He was being overtly exchanging emails with his Turkish bribers saying, Haha, here's a barrel of money. I'm going to check into the hotel. Is it expensive? And they say, don't worry, you're being corrupt. You can stay there for free.
Damn. Well, Eric Adams wasn't even like a real mayor because he inherited the city like during a pandemic, right?
From Bill de Blasio, yes.
I mean, de Blasio was...
There's a BLM mayor then Jermaine Jackson that's going to come in after Eric Adams.
Really?
I think so. Jermaine something.
Shit. Imagine if I became mayor of New York.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
It would. Just any Asian guy, East Asian guy becomes mayor, you can just take his place easily and no one will notice.
If I was mayor, what would I do? Well, I don't see... I guess like a mayor is supposed to solve problems. What's the biggest problem right now?
I don't know, raising crime. I mean, they're getting the standards of the society back in order, but raising crime or whatever, breakdown of services, public transportation.
It seems like as a mayor, all you got to do is just pay your cops, pay your garbage guys, pay your firefighters, and pay your hospitals. Right? That's all you got to do.
Yeah.
If you can manage to get that done, then okay. But then there's problems, right? So let's say, oh, but the pipes aren't working all throughout the city. Why the fuck aren't the pipes working? Well, because they're so old. Well, can we replace them? It's going to cost you billions of dollars, and it's going to take you 15 years. Why? Why didn't anyone do this sooner? Well, because the last mayor, we told them it would take like billions of dollars. It would take 15 years, and he was like, "I'll just leave it to the next mayor." So it's that's a big problem, and there's no way to fix that. That New York is a doomed city. New York is not meant to last forever. There's no way New York.
I feel like New York will last forever.
How?
It's a permanent settlement now. Even if we have a catastrophe, even if a nuke goes off in New York, it'll still be a permanent settlement just because it's so big and so culturally prominent.
Possibly.
Maybe not a nuke, but anything else.
But that's not what I'm really thinking about. I'm thinking more of like a slowly rising like tide, like
you can just build walls around the city like in the Netherlands. I don't know why we don't do that here in general.
Is that possible, really?
Yes, it is. The Netherlands, much of the country is underwater as of like 800 years ago. Yeah,
so they just build
25% of the city of the country is under sea level.
Really?
Yeah, they just have very complex dike and levee systems that they're constantly maintaining.
Damn. I wonder how sustainable that is.
For them, it's highly sustainable because they're all Dutch.
Well, also you could make like literally the kinetic energy like pay for itself, like with the waves crashing against it somehow. I'm sure.
I don't know if they're at that point yet.
Well, you could create like a turbine system or something.
They have they're a little they're like a floating city, but it's in the Netherlands.
That's cool.
The entire country is a floating city.
I was thinking of I want to move to somewhere where there's like, I'm not just talking about white people. I'm talking about like the whitest people, like Iceland or like Greenland or like Norway or something, and
a Scandinavian country, Northern European,
and find a nice Scandinavian wife and just have some hoppa babies with a blonde
as
bitch.
part of your
And I'll teach them swordsmanship. I'll turn them into like.
You're always dating Catholic Europeans. Your real desire is to date a Protestant girl.
What's wrong with that?
No, I think that's very reasonable. It's interesting. I'm glad that you're narrowing down to that.
Well, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like because it's just. I feel like I could if I was. I would have the only reason why I would get myself into trouble is because I would be with some spicy Latina or Medi chick or some shit, and they're into like all this spicy shit. So,
they bring out the worst in you, whereas a more restrained Nordic woman.
Yeah, when I was with that Canadian, she was like Nordic as fuck, and she really did get me more into like more wholesome things. Like she's the reason why I could take care of my cat so well. Like she's the reason why I could just like let things go. Because like people like her exist, that a part of me like that exists. So that taught me to cultivate that. So it's like, I think the Scandinavians and the Northern Europeans and me just we resonate. You know, like I get along with them really well. Even if I don't marry them, like I could just hang out with them and it's fine.
Yes.
You know, like I like the way Northern European, Scandinavian people are. Germans too. The Germans
they're
the Germans-
Northern European. The big divide is Northern and Southern European.
The Germans are a little too autistic for me though. Something
Yeah.
about like this is different.
Yeah, they're very uptight and very rule based. The Germans are the Chinese of whites.
I prefer like say like the
Germans are the Chinese of whites.
I like
Yes.
I like the Norwegians. I like the Swiss people. I like the Icelandic people. You know, like they seem a little more in tune with like things, good things, you know?
Yes.
Whereas the Germans, the Germans came into contact with something that just really, really fucked them up, like really badly.
The spirit of Wotan.
Yeah. And then you go east and the Russians are just really fucked up. They're so
And
fucked up.
depressed and fucked up.
They're
the
so
Tartar yoke.
The Polish are actually chill. I actually like Polish. But
I'm
the Polish are a little yeah.
Go on.
You know, they're a little retarded.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. They're mostly dumb.
But you know, the one Polish chick I dated was actually incredibly intelligent. Like,
Yeah.
she majored in like neuroscience.
Canadian too, right?
No. The one Polish chick I dated, I was 21. She was 18.
Oh, I see.
She went to Hunter College.
Oh, Greenpoint.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I think you told me about her before.
She was like an inch taller than me. She was a black belt in Shotokan karate.
Yeah.
Dude, like she and what's funny is she set the standard for Polish because I really didn't hang out with too many Polish people besides her. So, you know, I thought all Polish people were like her. But then like I met other Polish people and I was like, wait, like this is weird. So you guys just like you guys just like football and Honda Odysseys and drinking really bad vodka with really bad food. Like, it's like that's fucked up, man. No, but the Polish chick that I was with, she was like awesome. Like she taught me the beauty of like drinking beer and petrified meats.
Yeah.
I was like, this is awesome. She was like, yo,
very Slavic.
You ever heard of Eurovision?
Yeah.
I was like, what's Eurovision? She put me onto Doctor Who. We would just watch Doctor Who drinking Żywiec beer while eating like petrified like dried meats, and it was good. It was in Greenpoint, Brooklyn. It was a good fucking time. Ridgewood.
Anyway, it sounds like a pleasant romance for good and for ill.
Yeah. So anyway, you got any closing statements?
I don't. I'm done.
All right. My closing statement would be start journaling. Yeah.
Great.
Journal every day. Get a nice notebook. Get Leichtterm 1917 notebooks.